Traditional homes capture elegance, timelessness, and sophistication, each reflecting a heritage of classic style and enduring comfort. Today on Homeworthy, we tour 4 homes that embrace the style: a blogger's gorgeous space in Arizona, a freshly renovated California home, a Tudor in Texas, and a darling colonial in Connecticut. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Diane Elizabeth. Welcome to my home in Phoenix. Come on in and look at all my stuff.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Diana Elizabeth Steffen. I am in Phoenix, Arizona, and I am a blogger turned content creator. Our house is a 1952 home, and we have a mail slot, and we also have a milk box, which is so darling to just think that people back in the day used to leave their milk in there. My husband and I live in a ranch-style home in Phoenix, and our home has been under renovation for the past 13 years. It's actually what I call a his and her home. He has his own office, I have my own office, his closet, his bathroom, her bathroom. It makes for a wonderful marriage. I found this home when my husband and I were dating just after a few months, and he didn't really want me to buy a house, but I bought a house anyway. This was not supposed to be a forever home for us, but when my husband and I got married 6 months after us dating, he moved in and he said to me, "I don't ever want to move again." And I was like, what? So we do love the neighborhood. And by deciding that we were gonna live here and make this our forever home, we were really able to put in the money, put in the time, and instead of looking at the renovations for resale, we were able to do the things that we wanted to do for our own lifestyle. Welcome to my living room. This is where you enter as soon as you come in my house. And I thought I would point out a very special gift a friend gave me for my birthday. It is an oil painting of our home. She knows it's our forever house, so I thought this was so special. And this is Camelback Mountain. This is a vintage print. So you can go to your local library online and research old photos from the city, and they will print them for you or send you the digital copy. So just a tip if you want to personalize your home with things from the city you live in. So the faux florals, I used to be so anti, but I have to tell you that going to the store and buying fresh flowers every week is just time consuming and not budget friendly. So I kind of just warmed up to just the idea of having these flowers. The tip is obviously pick flowers that are in season and don't let them get dusty. Here's our fireplace, and this is my Mario Boada moment, of course, with the bows. We have some silhouettes, and these silhouettes right here, the big ones, were from my 40th birthday party. I had a French soiree style party, and I hired a silhouette artist to come and do all of the silhouettes for my guests. So I put those in frames, and we have some from when we were younger and Disney World. So they're here. I love Staffordshire style dogs, and I used to not like them, which is really funny, and now you'll see them throughout the house. This needlepoint rug is vintage, and I loved it because to me it's like wallpaper but on the floor, and I didn't want to wallpaper this room. So I found this rug, but it was too small, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And my husband and I were measured, and he's like, "It's not going to work, it's too small." So here's a tip. I got now we all know about layering rugs, right? but there is a runner size underneath this couch, and I duct taped it underneath my couch. So you can't tell because you have this rug layered over it. So just a little tip if you can't find the right kind of rug or you don't want to get a custom rug. And then I finally was able to get my needlepoint vintage rug here. This couch is a Pottery Barn sectional. Had it for the longest time, probably over 12, 13 years. So it used to be beige. So I used to be very neutral. You would never guess now. I love color. So I had this reupholstered and restuffed and added pleats on the bottom. And it's the most comfortable, deep couch, and I love it. And I just think if you invest in really good furniture, just get it reupholstered and you can change your style as you go. And if cushions flatten out over a decade, just get them restuffed. So I had just bought a new coffee table and I didn't want to tell my husband I wanted this now at an estate sale. So I told him, hey, I need some help picking something up at this estate sale I went to. It was only $80. And he's like, okay, well, what is it? And then I had to tell him it was a coffee table, but I was hoping if I just told him how much it was first, he wouldn't get like, what? We just bought a coffee table. So, but it worked, just so you know, it worked. The price was fine. So we loaded up the car and got this. And in this cabinet behind the couch, we have a couple family heirlooms. So I have my husband's baby shoes, so sweet. And we also have both of our baby cups, and he has a little silver spoon in there. And when we got married, my mother-in-law gave me a couple family gifts that were passed down, so these are in here. And this is Benjamin's, my husband's grandfather, who served in the Korean War. And I have a lot of these plates. Now, I love them. I got them at an estate sale, a huge set. I just haven't used them yet because I just need to properly get them tested for lead to make sure that they're okay to use. But right now they sit here and they look very pretty. And as a collector of blue and white, I ran out of room. So I started putting them up here. And a lot of these are actually from friends' grandparents that have just been gifting me these items, which is really, really sweet. So another collection is up there. These are architectural prints that I bought in my mid to early 20s, and they're actually a set of 4. When I bought them, I think I had tears in my eyes. I fell in love with them, had to have them, and I envisioned them in my future home. Well, I don't have a big enough wall to have all 4, so you'll see them throughout the house, but I have 2 to stack. And I created this bow. I wanted to be a little savvy, so I just bought 1 yard. And I cut it, so it looks like it goes all the way through, but it's just taped against the wall. So I owned a townhome a couple blocks away, and when I discovered this neighborhood pretty close by, I fell in love immediately, and I started driving by almost every other day just to see what would come on the market. And when this house hit the market, I was the first one that morning to see it. And my parents were in town, luckily, so we walked in and my dad was in love with it. I was more in love with it for the neighborhood, but I loved the corner lot. I loved the space. And again, I didn't think this was my forever home. It was just kind of a transitional home for me, but it was a small home, 1,750 square feet. We have since expanded twice, but my dad, who is in real estate, just fell in love with it and saw the potential. And so I started to see the potential as well. So I guess you could say I couldn't wait to get into the neighborhood. And once we were able to save up and fix things, and it has been continuous for the past 13 years, it's at a place where I feel like I can enjoy it. And now I'd love to show you the dining room. Come with me. Welcome to my dining room. It's attached to my kitchen. This used to actually be the end of the house, which I'll explain later. So I have to tell you the story about this oil painting. I bought the oil painting on canvas when we were first married, and it came rolled up, so I had to go get it framed. So I had a 50% off coupon, which doesn't do very much, to be honest. And I show up at the store, I get my frame, and the total was just astronomical. And we were newly married, so we didn't have a lot of money. And I came back and I told my husband how much it was to frame it. And he just looked at me, and it was too late. And I was like, I used a 50% off coupon. But I love it, we love it. And if there was ever a fire, we would just grab this off the wall and run out of the house. This is the first thing we would save. And a tip for just saving a little bit of money is I found these picture lights off of eBay. And that saved me about half, so you can find some really good stuff on there. Just more collection of blue and white on here. Blue is probably my favorite color, and I just love blue and white. So when your collections get substantial, you just start putting things on the wall or on top of cabinets, and I just found these that were so beautiful at antique stores. This is actually just from Zara Home. I just like that there's more white than blue in the print, and it works. And if I find something later on, I'll replace them. And these chairs, oh, this was so amazing. So they're carved, and they have casters on them, rolling casters. And I found them on Facebook Marketplace, but they were at an antique store, and for such a steal. And the fact that they had blue and white on there, it just went with my house. And we went that night because, when you see something, you don't know if someone else is looking at it too. So we drove across town and went straight to that antique store and bought them from the booth. Our dining chairs are on rolling casters, which are just so amazing. I don't think I could ever go back to any kind of chair. I didn't want an area rug here because it's a pass-through dining room because it used to be the end of the house. And I didn't want to clean it and all of that. So these are amazing. Guests are usually so surprised the first time they come. I will warn you, kids really love them too, and they don't stay still on these. So we have to put things behind them to keep them in their chair. But it's also wonderful because they have they're covered, so I can just throw them in the wash when they get dirty. So I just had a garden party with about 13 girlfriends of mine, and I do that every spring because the backyard is blooming. So I had a really fun collaboration with Williams-Sonoma and have some of these little dishes. But I wanted to show you these plates that are vintage. It says the kitchen garden. They are made in England by Wood & Sons. And I have a kitchen garden, which I will show you later. But this just really spoke to me. And I had to collect these all over the internet. And I'm still working on my collection. And now let's move on to the kitchen. So I've been to a couple of the homes in our neighborhood and saw that this actually used to be a wall with a really tiny door. So we didn't do this, the previous owner did, but I just thought it was so nice that he opened it up, added an island, and it just feels more open. I do have to say, entertaining. It is really nice to have the dining room connected to the kitchen in some way. So we love it. So this kitchen was already done with the cabinets and the flooring, so we just had to personalize it for ourselves. So the first thing we did was change out the lights. And I love how the lighting is in here. I changed the backsplash. As a blogger, I was fortunate to work with Walker Zanger Tile. So they provided this tile. It's called Cocoon. And I still love it to this day. Changed out the hardware. And this is a vintage rug from Etsy. It's really nice having the kitchen attached to the dining room. So when I host and there's a buffet, we just come in and conversation isn't broken up. I just want to show you this French mount soap. So I got this when I was in France at a boutique, and this woman, I was like, what is this? And I like to bring home things that are unique and that I can use every day. So she told me that this was usually in schools, and it's soap so it doesn't sit in a dish and wither away quickly. You just kind of wet your hands, lather up, and that's it. So it lasts a really long time. So when I brought it back, I told my husband, I want to mount it in the tile here. And he's like, you can do that when you find a whole bunch of refills. So I, searched the internet. I have a dozen in storage, so we're good. So it's up here. We don't have children, but we have a lot of special children in our life, and we host a really big Easter egg hunt at our house. And so this is just a picture of a really happy memory one of those years. And we just leave it up here because the kids are getting so big now. We still host it, we enjoy it. And I have a silhouette of my niece because I obviously love silhouettes and hired the same woman who created the silhouettes for my 40th birthday. This is just a shelf of just little knickknacks and putting more plates up that I found actually from the thrift store. I love to thrift. I love a good deal, and I love flowers in case you didn't notice. And this is a fun lamp. I love to collect lamps. I especially love it when they are unique like this. So I found this at an antique store, and I think it just belongs in the kitchen. And we live on a former citrus grove, and we planted some new citrus in the orchard. So having some fresh juice is always nice. So this is on the counter. Our kitchen is pretty dark. So when we expanded with the garden room, we added skylights in the kitchen as well. And these are by Velux. I was able to work with them as a blogger, and they open up, and they also have blinds. So it's really nice. So we have 2 in the kitchen and 2 in the garden room. Being a blogger and content creator, I think that it's allowed me to be a little more experimental. There was a moment where everything was beige and I had white walls because I thought that I needed to stay clean for the brands that I worked with. But it never felt like me. And once I kind of slowed down a little bit in life, I just thought, but I want to wallpaper this powder bathroom, and I want it to be outrageous, and I want these things. And I just decided that I was going to do things for myself and how I liked it. And what's been wonderful about that is the brands that can identify with my style have been working with me. So I've been able to work with Pottery Barn and Williams-Sonoma, and I've also had some companies like Velux with skylights, and I feel like it's a team effort now with my house working with these amazing brands. And now come with me to our garden room, which is our expansion. Welcome to our garden room. Like I mentioned, this is an expansion. It's 425 square feet, and this is what we decided to add on once we realized we needed more space for entertaining. So I wanted to show you these curtains because they actually came as an idea from another Homeworthy episode. So grateful. I paused it, screenshot it, and I had to get these made. So these are floor-to-ceiling curtains. This trim is by Samuel & Sons, and they are double-sided. And it's wonderful to close this off when I'm having dinner or entertaining in here, or if guests stay here. It kind of feels like a hotel when it's closed. This is what I think they call a palace floor vase. Found this at an antique store. Bought it, told Benjamin, hey, can you help me get something out of the trunk? It's a little heavy. He walks over, he sees it through the window, the car window, and he's like, oh my goodness, what is that? And brought it in. The ironic thing is it did not come with a stand, and a few days later, I went to an estate sale, just guessed that maybe this might fit. It's a perfect fit. These chairs are by Hickory Chair, and I found them at an estate sale and just had them reupholstered to a color that worked well in our garden room. And I found this bone inlay dresser at a boutique. I bought this because I fell in love with it, but we didn't even have plans drawn for this space. I just had to have it. It went into storage, and I love that there's so many cabinets, little drawers here, and I store so many things in here, from napkin rings to candles. We don't have a lot of space, storage space in our house, so this is where it all hides. And I found this sofa at a estate sale that was actually in an airplane hangar. They had so much furniture that came in from a large estate from California, and I wanted a couch that had a beautiful back so you could see it when you came through the house and looked out. And so when I saw this, and of course it's a beautiful color, and I love color, and it replaced a beige couch because I was transitioning from my beige into my color era. And we bought this, which then required us to get a new rug, you know, change all the things in the house that happens. And this ottoman I found on Facebook Marketplace. It originally was very Tuscan feeling, had red and yellow tassels. Didn't fit my color scheme in here, of course. But, okay, so I couldn't get a hold of the seller. And when you email, sometimes it goes in a separate folder, and if the seller is not too familiar with selling, they don't check those messages. I had to have it. It was at a great price. So I found her personal profile, sent her a message, got a response, picked it up, loaded up the car, and went straight to a trim store in downtown Phoenix. And I just kept taking swatches from the store to the trunk of my car just to like compare and make sure that it worked out well. And then I just ripped off the trim and hot glue gunned the new one. I have a pair of these chairs, and this is a interesting story. So I have a pair, and I went to an estate sale. It was in a really well-affluent neighborhood, and didn't know who it belonged to. Well, it was the former, the late owner of the Arizona Cardinals football team. And it was just like stunning. And I saw these chairs. There was a little old lady sitting on them, just taking a break from her shopping. She wasn't gonna buy them, but I was like, excuse me, can I like take a look at this? And it was so cute. So it was originally like red cushion and red tassels. So I came back and I bought this Schumacher Performance like velvet, and I did this myself. And then I went on Etsy and found these tassels just to make it blend in a little bit better with the colors that I have in my home. I have a photo of my mom. She was a famous stage singer in Asia and traveled the whole world. But I think what I really wanted to point out to you was this photo. No, it's not Princess Diana and Prince Charles, but it's actually my husband and I as Princess Diana and Prince Charles. So I was named after Princess Diana and Queen Elizabeth. And I also am known for having themed parties. I just love a good theme. So I decided one year for my birthday, I want a Princess Diana iconic costume party. So my friends are such great sports, and these are my closest girlfriends, and they all dressed up as a Princess Diana. We did not have any duplicates in outfits. I also just want to let you know that I did not tell them to wear a wig. They were all telling me they wanted to be Princess Diana, so then I had to put on a wig. So that was just such a fun time, and I just have the funnest friends. I actually made a reel on Instagram, and it's gone viral to show off all of their costumes. It was a fun time. This painting is over 100 years old. It was painted in 1922, and what I find so special about it is the artist wrote a note to his friend that he painted it for, to my friend Alice McFarland, Leroy, Ireland, and I did a Google search, printed his information and put it back here so the next owner, whoever that may be, will have a little bit of history about him. I thought that was, I just love it. In the garden room. So this area, we don't have the square footage to have a designated guest room. And so my husband said, I want a Murphy bed. And at first I was like so anti-Murphy bed. Then I kind of did some research on Pinterest, and I saw that you could really make it look nice. So this is a Murphy bed, and I'd pull it down for you, but we have furniture in the way. But it is wallpapered behind it because I wallpaper everything. So it's a Cole & Sons wallpaper that matches the back of the bookcase. I love home decor, so any new books that come out, it's probably on my Amazon wish list. And since I mentioned I was named after Princess Diana, I do love royal things, and I collect a lot of the things. So I just want to show you something really quick that I bought at a antique show, and it is a Cadbury chocolate from the Silver Jubilee. This would be Queen Elizabeth's parents, but here's the kicker. There's still some chocolate in here. My husband has asked if I like dare him if he'll like eat it, but I don't want to take him to the hospital. But just kind of something neat that's in here. And this is my Yorkie that I had in college, who's now, not with us. So you'll see a couple little Yorkie things around here. I mentioned my love for Staffordshire style dogs. They always say you have to have something a little quirky in each room. This is my little quirky thing. I was at a antique store. I saw it, posted it on Instagram stories, kind of like making fun of it a little bit. And then I came home and I thought, I really want that. So I asked my husband what he thought. And the next day he went back and he got it for me. And he tells the funniest story he's like, it was so embarrassing of me carrying this giant porcelain dog to the trunk of the car in the parking lot, and people are like looking at me. But I love it and I appreciate it. And during Christmas time, I put a little scarf on him. Everyone always asks what his name is. I don't have a name, so if you have any ideas, let me know. This is my paternal grandmother, and this was in her apartment when I was a little girl. So I remember looking at it all the time, and now it's in my house, and I love seeing her. Now, this chest of drawers I picked up at an estate sale in this area called Sun City, which is a retirement community here in Phoenix. And I went every single day to the sale as prices decreased. But this is my purchase of the first day at 7 a.m. that I drove for. And I just love all of the drawers because, again, I need storage. So it has napkin rings in here, chopsticks, a lot of candles and things like that. And this little needlepoint pillow I picked up at an estate sale. It says, friends are the best presents. And they are. Now let's head into the garden room bathroom. This is our guest bathroom, and I used Hampton Roses. It's called Hampton Roses wallpaper by Cole & Sons. Found this mirror at a garage sale, and then I found the light fixture that looks like roses that match the wallpaper, so I had to buy that. And it's pretty cozy in here. I painted this green, changed out the knobs. We do have a shower in here because it is right off the Murphy bed area, which our guests would stay right here and use this bathroom. After a few years of living in this house, we realized that we needed a second entertaining room. So this is where the garden room, which we are sitting in, happened maybe 7 or 8 years after living here. We just needed another space and an area for our guests to stay as well. We have a Murphy bed in this area. And we realized that we like to entertain a lot and also outdoors. Phoenix has wonderful weather for a majority of the year. And we planted a ton of trees. Every tree that you see here has been planted by us. I would describe my style as probably traditional to the core of myself. A lot of furniture that I've had for a very long time. Say maybe a little grand millennial, a little eclectic. A lot of estate sale and thrift store finds. So probably just all over the place, but traditional in the end. I'd love to show you the rest of the house, but first let's go into the hallway. Now this door is very special. It's called a Harmon hinge door. And I have a contractor that never tells me no, which is amazing, so my crazy ideas. Usually a Harmon hinge door is not in the middle of a wall. It's usually on the corner or a place like that. But he figured it out, and the reason why I wanted a Harmon hinge door here is because this is our hallway to the bedrooms and the bathrooms, and I wanted our entertaining spaces to be separated with noise or things like that from the hallway. So it's a noise barrier, it's also privacy. If I wake up at 10 a.m. for whatever reason and my guests are here, I can just come out of my bedroom and go into my bathroom and no one has to see my bed head. This is my bathroom. I mentioned this is his and hers, so this is my bathroom. And I used a vinyl wallpaper, very affordable. It's by Brewster Home. It comes in another colorway. These cabinets are from Home Depot, and I just changed out the knobs over the years a couple of times. And since there's not like a ton of counter space, I bought this tray and I just kind of stuck it like between them, and it has a little bit of extra counter space for me. And this is just like an old candle holder and my soap pump, just to make it a little fancier. We used to have a window in this bathroom right here, but the garden room is on the other side. So I love natural light and I was missing it. So I worked with Velux. They did the sun tunnels in here and the skylights. And so this was a way to bring in some natural light. Welcome to our bedroom. I have had a majority of this furniture since my mid-20s, and I just love it. These lamps I found from JCPenney probably 15 years ago, and these lampshades are by Vaughn. I found at a thrift store for $6 each. You're gonna like just freak out. So when I saw them, I was like, I know those are designer. I saw the label, and I mean, telling you, thrifting is life. The wallpaper is grass cloth. It's a blue wallpaper by T-Boo, and it just adds so much texture for this quite cozy little space that we have. And this bedding I've had for a little bit. This is from the Macy's Hotel Collection. I was able to work with them many years ago. And I loved it, of course, because it looks like wallpaper, but it's on the bed. I found these panels at an estate sale, and I found the pair, and I loved that. I just loved the scale of it. I just thought it was so beautiful, especially with the gold in there. So I had to take home the pair. And of course I have another little lamp here, just cute, like a little 3D little kid lamp right here. And the ceiling light is from France. I bought it at a boutique in California that specialized in French antiques. I found this huge picture at a thrift store. I just love going to thrift stores, and you never know what you can find, and I love the scale. I just knew it belonged in here. And now let me take you to my dressing room. And welcome to my dressing room. We expanded, so this was right off of our bedroom. It was just a window and we bumped it out. So to be honest, my husband wanted this for me. I was totally content with my tiny reach-in closet. It was fine, but I think he got tired of my clothes being under the bed and in every single closet. So he's like, we need to build you something for you to walk into. So this is just the sweetest gift. And I didn't realize I had so much clothes until my parents were out and we were filling up the closet, and my parents were like, where is all of this coming from? I guess I needed the space. And this window is the same size as what used to be in our bedroom, and we put it here, and it's a view of our orchard, which I will take you outside to show you that, but it's a beautiful view. And this wallpaper is a grass cloth. It's called Avondale. It's by Lee Joffa. And I had to get the matching print for the curtains and find a seamstress here to make a Roman shade. It does operate. And the ceiling, I want to say it's called rose colored, which would make sense. And I just wanted something so fun. And I love this pink color. And I found that if you kind of go a little bit deeper and richer in a shade, you won't have it look like a nursery, because that was my biggest fear with a pink ceiling. So back in the day, I did pageants, and I did the Miss America system and the Miss USA system, but here's one of my local crowns, and I was Fiestable Princess in college. And this is a photo of my mom when she was touring and singing, and I just have that in a frame. Oh, this is really neat. So I was at a thrift store, surprise, and I found this. Normally you would not look at something like this, right? But can you see it? It matches the wallpaper and the curtains, the print. It's like this was made, and the colors too. It was like it was made for this. I just totally freaked out when I saw it at the thrift store. And just like a fun little lamp. I'm trying to do a little nature thing in here. This is actually my husband's office, and I was like, it's going in my closet. Behind this mirror is just a lot of things that are maybe not as pretty, but you need the storage, like sweaters, other purses and things like that. And I like to hide my shoes behind cabinets because I just don't like things getting dusty. So go through some of my clothing items. All right. I love a good velour set because they're hot. That's hot. So if you guys were not here, chances are I would be in one of these right now. And these are like my fancy clothes, but I wanted to show you that what is really special these are my mother's stage dresses. And I did wear them. I wore one of them for my 40th, and I have a photo. So it's this one right here. And I joke with my mom that she should have given to me a lot sooner so I would have been a little more comfortable wearing it, but I do fit in them, which is amazing. And I love having them in the front because they're immaculate. They're so beautiful. Now I love purses, but let me show you my favorite purses. They are novelty bags, and this one is from Ted Baker, and it's so fun. I wear this when I go to afternoon tea with my girlfriends, and it's such a hit. And I'm going to show you another one that I really, really love. This one's by Kate Spade, and it's a water can, and it's so cool because I'm a gardener, and so I bought the little flower coin purse that goes with it. I just love something that's fun and unique like that. When it comes to decorating my home, I find that I take more risks when I'm at the thrift store, especially a charity thrift store, because it's like a donation. So for just a couple dollars, you can try this shelf out, try this vase. If you don't like it, you donate it back or you gift it. So that's where I've been able to experiment. And when I pick something out, I just have a feeling like if I love it. And my house is very full right now. So in order for me to bring something in, I need to really love it because it's probably going to replace something. For anyone who is trying to discover their own style, I would say take your time. They say that maybe live in your home for 4 seasons, so a full year, so you can see the pattern of the sun, how lighting gets in. Also save up. Always tackle the things that drive you crazy first, of course. So there's been so many things that I finally got to 13 years later. And in my mind, I'm like, but I could have done this sooner. But there were just other things I needed to buy or I needed to save up. And I would say take your time. However, I will suggest if you can afford a tree, plant the trees now, because in a couple years, you'll be thanking yourself when you have this huge canopy. So buy the largest you can find the soonest you can. Welcome to my office. We installed these doors right off the living room, which makes the living room look larger. And it was also nice when I used to be a wedding photographer and clients would come over and come straight into my office. This is a silver grass cloth wallpaper. So I have a stack of these books called the Friendship Book. And I got one at a thrift store, or it was like a used bookstore. Loved it. So every day it's like a kind of like a diary of a small interaction with a friend or friends he knows. Sometimes they have scripture in it. And it's so sweet. And I just treasure my friendships. So I really love this, that I ended up going on eBay and just finding a couple more. And it just makes my day just to open one up and just read a couple of them. And this chest was from an antique store. And this I found at a thrift store. Love my thrifting. This is so beautiful. The colors were so gorgeous. And I just love a floral moment here. So this office faces north, so I don't get a lot of sunlight. So I added a skylight. Funny thing was, my contractor said, okay, we have good news and bad news. And I was like, what is it? He said, the good news is we can put a skylight in. I'm like, so then what's the bad news? He's like, you have beams right there that we, like the trusses, that we cannot take out. And then I thought, okay, well, it's an old house. Let's just put it up and we'll just expose the beams. And I had a handyman stain the beams. So my parents have panels similar to this. It's shell. And I kept saying, like, send them to me, send them to me. And they couldn't figure out how to send them to me. So, and I didn't want to wait. So I went on eBay and I bought my own. And I had a carpenter mount it because it's very, very heavy. But I just love the statement and the contrast that it makes. And this is a sofa that's the size of a twin. So when we have an overflow of guests, we've had some friends stay right here and we just throw a sheet on it. This set of artwork is from a friend. Her grandmother had passed away, and her sisters decided, they spoke together and decided that if I was interested, if I would like these. And so I have her grandparents' name on the back of them in the story. So they did some, they served in Japan, and she was just so influenced by Oriental artwork and furniture. So these were some pieces that she brought back. So I just feel so blessed to have these in my stewardship during my lifetime. I collect, well, like I said, collect royal things. I also love Wedgwood Jasperware. So this is my collection of Queen Elizabeth and Princess Diana and Charles. It's funny because here's a tip. If you want to build a collection fast, tell your friends. So, because they will help you build your collection within a year. And if you like collecting, then maybe don't tell them that, because you'll just get a whole bunch of it, but you can move on and collect something else. So a lot of these are gifts from my friends. This is not a typical desk chair. I just really liked it because of the color. They had another option in beige, but I will always default to a color. And I think spa blue is one of my favorite colors. Found this lamp at a resale furniture place. Tulips are my favorite flower. So I had to get this lamp, and this lamp was a Facebook Marketplace find. I believe it's Ethan Allen, and I just got a nice pleated shade for the top. Okay, let's talk about the carpet. This was a quarantine decision. I don't regret it, for the record. I love a good leopard print. This is wool carpet, wall to wall. And I wanted it installed without a padding on the bottom. So this is what hotels usually do. And it's like almost like a peel and stick. So if I wanted to, I could peel this carpet off and move it to another room, or get it bound, and it could be an area rug. But we don't wear shoes in our house, so it's really nice to have like wool carpet, like the feeling of it on your feet. And it's so comfortable. And I love it. It's neutral. This is me on the cover of Phoenix magazine. I occasionally do some local modeling and acting, and I was asked to be on the cover of Phoenix magazine, and I'm wearing my great-grandmother's dress. I never met her. It's very, very tiny and a little tight squeeze, but it's very special to me that I'm wearing her dress on the cover of this magazine. So my favorite part about my home is actually the backyard. I can't wait to show you the backyard. And it's because I love to garden. I'm out there every day, deadheading, planting more things, checking on the garden, and it's a space where we entertain a lot, is always outdoors. And I feel so fortunate to have a nice corner lot, so we have a lot of areas and space, but also great weather to grow lots of things and garden. I think what gives a home soul is the personalization in it. When you walk into someone's house and you think, oh, she likes to collect this. This is her favorite color. This is important to her. Maybe you see like a big kitchen, you're like, okay, this is a hostess who likes to host. I think when you see the personalization, and it's not that things have to match or go together with color coordination, it's just a style that you see someone's personality come out. I think that's a great thing to walk into someone's home and see that. Now I'm gonna take you to my favorite part of the entire house. It's actually the backyard. And welcome to the favorite part of my home, the backyard. I bought this little pineapple brass sign off of Etsy, and you know, pineapples are hospitality. This is our kitchen garden. We call it the kitchen garden because it's right off the kitchen. And it's a lot of florals. So I have some rose bushes right here. We have a jasmine wall that's in full bloom and smells amazing right now. This is just like a little area that we enjoy hosting friends because we are on the corner a lot. We can be as loud as we want to at night in this area. And I will say, if you have a small backyard, you can add so much personality and squish a lot in. So I would pretend if this was just my backyard, this would be more than enough and I would still love it and your guests would love it. We have some veggies in the raised brick garden beds. So I bought this at an auction, online auction. My husband and I went to go pick it up and I see a sticker on the back that looks very familiar. And I'm like, what is that? It was a Home Goods sticker. I was like, no. But I only paid like $35 for it, so I wasn't super mad. But you know, I still love it. I painted it from gray to white and it works. So it's okay. It's a good Home Goods find. We hide some of our garden tools back here, big garden tools here, like the lawnmower. And now this is where we enter for like the main backyard. So our guests would come in through where you just did and into our backyard where tables would be set up on the lawn. Every tree you see, every plant has been planted by us. We had a couple here, but they ended up dying. They were on their way out, and these trees grow incredibly fast. They do well with very little water here in Arizona. And I know the first thing you think about is this doesn't look like Arizona, but Arizona has a lot of green areas. And I live in a neighborhood that is very lush and green. This was a former citrus farm, so the soil is really great. The trees we have, Chinese elm grows really fast, does great here. I have some ash trees, and they have just created these amazing canopies, and our whole backyard's practically shaded, which also creates a microclimate, so we can have roses, other plants, and things like that that will survive really well here. This is one of our patio areas. This is a storage shed. Since we don't have a garage, we need storage for Christmas and all my plates and holiday things, so that's in here. But this area is just where we dine and eat outside with friends. This was an estate sale find, also from the late Arizona Cardinals estate sale. This is the outside of the garden room, and when we have parties, people come in and out right here. We have this amazing patio furniture. It's by a company called Patio. It is the best furniture. When we first got it, we fell asleep on it for 2 hours by the fire pit. We've never been so comfortable, and it's durable. And the company is like an Arizona-based company, but it's national. So you know, if it can survive in Arizona, this is gonna survive anywhere. When we renovated this whole backyard, we had a landscape designer. I wanted a focal point. I think something that I learned through design books was that from a view from the inside of your home should look out into something amazing. So I thought a focal point would be a good idea. People usually ask if this is a fountain, but it's not. It's like a faux fountain. It's actually a seating area. I found this blue and white, I think it's like a Mexican planter at an estate sale, had no idea where it was gonna go, had other ideas for it, kept it. And when we were building this, I brought it out, showed my, my guy, and I was like, can you make a little, you know, like make sure this fits in there? And so he did, and it's perfect right there. So this is just extra seating. We kind of call this like the backyard island. And it's just like another seating area when we host baby showers or things like that. Usually the cake cutting and all the gift opening is right in this area. Now I'm going to take you into the orchard. So we did have a couple grapefruit trees on a property, but fruit trees don't last forever. So we decided to start planting our own. So we have a pink lemon, which is right here. This is the outside of my dressing room. We have a lime tree. And this very special tree that's behind a Gothic fruit cage is my peach tree because I love peaches, and we obviously need to protect them from the birds because they certainly know that this is an orchard and they come all the time. So I ordered this from a company in England because I just had to find one that was pretty. So my husband said, if you're gonna get a fruit cage, make sure it doesn't look like a batting cage. This is our lemon tree and our mandarin orange tree right here. Right here up against the back of my closet window, we have a little path. I found these little animal stepping stones at an estate sale, and I thought they were so darling. There's a frog, a pig, a bunny, and a turtle. Home, to me, is a place where you can rest. And it's also a place that houses your favorite things and your favorite people and amazing memories.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Dana, and welcome to my home in Pasadena. Come on inside, let's give you a tour.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi, I'm Dana Banta, and I am the owner of the Monogrammed Home in San Marino. Here we are at my home in Pasadena, California. We bought this house in 2013, 11 years ago, while living in New York. We had dreams of moving back to Pasadena to start a family, and I flew out as soon as this house was listed, saw it, FaceTimed my husband, and put an offer in on the house. We were one of 13 offers, and a week later it was ours. When we were living in New York, there were a couple different neighborhoods that we were interested in moving to, but Madison Heights was our ultimate favorite. It's best known for Father of the Bride, as well as Mad Men, which are both shot a block away from our house. It's a great neighborhood that we love. So our house is a traditional colonial style house. There are craftsman elements, which is very common in houses in Pasadena area. We bought the house and it was 2,500 square feet, and we added 600 square feet recently to the house. Here we are in our formal living room. You walk directly in through the front door into the formal living room. We have a beautiful alcove ceiling that's original to the home. We added the molding detail to the roof to create a little more depth to the ceiling. On either side of the front door, we have these antique mirrors that flank the door. They were my great-grandmother's, passed through my maternal side down to me. So what I love about the living room is the variety of fabrics that we use and colors. The celadon green, the coral, the blue that you'll see carry throughout the entire house. I love the Carlton V fabric that we chose, the dragon print. We mixed it with traditional fabric as well as more contemporary fabric to give it a modern yet traditional feel. Love coffee table books. I always love adding them, rearranging them to my table, adding pieces that I've picked up along my travel here and there. Games are a big family favorite for us. So we love playing games, whether it's Rummy Cube or Mexican Train or Gin, or the latest that we've gotten into is Mahjong. And so it was really important that we add a game table to our formal living room. So we have this beautiful game table, Mahjong set up, and I love this animal print chairs. These chairs were made from an oak tree that came down about 12 years ago in Pasadena over on Orange Grove. And the oak tree was salvaged and repurposed into these beautiful chairs, which I love. I think what I love most about our home is it's comfortable. It's inviting. We love to entertain. We love to have people over, whether it's families or friends. Our children love having company over, and I think it's a house that works well for all ages. I never want people to feel like they can't put their glass of wine down on a table or things are too formal. And so I think when designing our house and choosing the fabrics and everything, we thought about our life and what makes us happy, and that's friends and family and entertaining them in our home. So that was a goal with all of the rooms. What I love so much is that all of the rooms flow nicely together, and the elements and colors of one room flow nicely into that of another. And you'll see when we do the tour, there's areas of the house where we kind of have bookends of saturated color, and that was intentional as well. So for a few months now, I've been looking for a piece to add to the coffee table. And I wanted something that was more contemporary and modern. It was inspired by the two pillows that we have on the sofa. And I wanted something with movement to bring in the blues. And so I had this idea and vision that I wanted something glass related. And I went to the Geary's sale in Beverly Hills a month back, and lo and behold, there at the sale was this awesome hand-blown glass ball, which I think works perfectly in this room and complements the pillows. So I love this. I brought it home, and my husband, the first thing he said, "What on earth is that? That is not us." And I said, "No, I think it's fun. It's the unexpected. You know, you walk into our home and you expect that so much of it will be traditional, and I just love adding a pop of something contemporary that people don't necessarily expect to see." So this fireplace, when we bought the house, it had these Corinthian style columns on either side of it. This whole room was a sponge painted pink, if you can imagine that. And we really transformed it with the wallpaper. We wanted to bring the house back to that 1922 traditional colonial style. So we added all the molding. I wanted to do paneling to give it that old traditional feel. We added ginger jars, which I have an obsession with. So you'll see those throughout the house. And then also brass candlesticks. I love collecting brass candlesticks. I think that they're so much fun for entertaining, putting around your house. You know, you can really, they're versatile in all rooms and for all occasions. To complement the use of fabric in this room, we decided to mix contemporary art as well as traditional art. Right here we have a painting by Johnny Apodaca, who is based in Carmel. A lot of our artwork in the house you will see is from Carmel plein air art. Not your typical what you might find in a formal living room in a traditional style house, but what I love about this painting is it works so well with the colors of the fabric. You see the red and the coral in it, and then also it complements a more traditional British portrait that we have in the room as well. So over here we have traditional British portrait. This has been in our family for 3 generations. And about 11 years ago, I had it restored. And before I had it restored, you couldn't even see the gentleman's pinky ring down here. You couldn't see the lace detail in the sleeves. And so we had it restored. And I think I just love the red color and the boldness in it. Because it is such a big piece, we intentionally decided to leave some of the walls blank in here. And so to give it the pomp and circumstance that it deserves. The floors of the house are original. The technique that is used is called quarter saw. So they're thinner slats of wood, and they were original to the house. We had them refinished when we moved in. All of the bedrooms and the bedroom hallway were carpeted when we bought the house. And we weren't sure if we were going to uncover original hardwood floor or what would be underneath. But when we first moved in, the first thing we did was rip out all of the carpeting, and we uncovered original oak hardwood floors. So when we did our remodel, one of the important points that we wanted to do was create a more formal living room. So before, you used to walk from the kitchen through the living room to the bedrooms. To the bedroom hallway, and we wanted a more formal area that wasn't a main thoroughfare. So we closed off. We had a doorway right here to the kitchen. We had a doorway over here to the bedrooms. We completely closed those, and this was our door to the exterior, to our backyard. And so it was big glass door, and then on either side it was flanked by colonial French doors. So we decided to add this hallway on to the back of the house and create a really show-stopping hallway that connects the kitchen to the bedroom hallway. In this room, we added a pair of Gustavian demi-lune tables that we found in Round Top in Texas. And I love the color, the feel. I came into this house and this project with so much wood antiques And so I think that these tables are a great addition. They add light to the room. And then I paired with blue and white pieces that I've picked up. So I would say an antique collector as well as blue and white porcelain pieces. Other thing I love about this hallway, and I think makes it a showstopper, is the black and white checkerboard that we put down in here. So when we were selecting the stone, it was really important to me that it not be a dark black, but more of a gray. And so we searched high and low and found it. And then the other thing that I want to point out is we were deciding on grout color and decided that this would be a main thoroughfare for our children, for pets, for family and friends and entertaining. And so we decided to go with a darker grout color so it wouldn't look dirty over time. So these are our dining room chairs, and we have 12 of them. So, depending on a party or what entertaining needs we have, we move them in and out. So sometimes they'll be in here, other times they'll be in our dining room. We've used them outside before. Every once in a while, I'll stack books on top of them to create a vignette too. So I think they're really fun. You can add them to the living room. What I like about them so much is the fabric works in all the rooms of our house. So you can really mix and match wherever you need more seating, they can move. So we wanted to add a pair of doors onto the hallway to block it off from the bedroom hallway. Just create a more formal gathering space for entertaining. If the kids are sleeping, then the doors help with the noise. Also great for Christmas morning. So we painted these doors a celadon green to coordinate and match with the wallpaper of the living room. So I lived in New York for 8 years after college. I worked in marketing for Sephora. I did all the store marketing for openings and events. And my sister and I always had the desire to move back to Pasadena and open a retail store together. And we wanted to do something that was different and didn't exist in the Pasadena area. Home stores existed. We loved the idea of a home store, but wanted something a little more unique. And so we landed on a monogramming personalization gift store, the Monogrammed Home, which we opened 10 years ago. Our goal was to create a curated selection of products that worked for men, women, the home, baby, children, and to us that personal, unique touch of a monogram or name on an item just shows that extra effort that you've put in for your gift. And so we created a brick and mortar location in San Marino, and we have an online presence as well. So people ask all the time, they say, oh my gosh, your whole house must be monogrammed. That's amazing. I would love to have my whole house monogrammed. And in fact, I think you'd be pretty surprised if you came over. There are subtle monograms, but they're not all over. And I don't know if that's that I look at monograms all day long in the store, but I think you don't want to overdo it, but I think adding those unique subtle touches really go a long way. Right off of our formal living room, we have our library, which is the most warm, inviting room and a fan favorite of our guests and friends. We used a very saturated teal color in the room. What I love about this room is the light. Whether it's first thing in the morning or in the late afternoon, the light in this room is very inviting. We added this wet bar. Before, this was the family's family room. And so they had a TV back here with accordion doors, their washer dryer behind it, and it just didn't speak to us. Because we love to entertain, we wanted to add a wet bar to the area. So we added this wet bar and we added the bookshelves to display some of our books, pictures, memorabilia, and things that we've picked up. I love Staffordshire dogs as well, so I've collected those and have a pair here. And then we have items like this was my husband's grandfather's trophy from a bowling championship, which I think is really fun to display around the house. My husband loves bourbon, and so we've decanted it throughout the house. We picked up this pair of 1960 decanters from William Wayne in New York when we were living in the city after getting married. I love them in this room. They add a little Art Deco kind of feel to the room, contemporary yet traditional as well. In addition, these prints I found in a local store down in San Marino, and I thought they were fun and regal. I loved the bear in here. It reminded me of the California State Bear. And so we had them framed to create a more formal piece of artwork in the room. So my maternal grandmother was very into equestrian. She loved paintings of horses, and I was fortunate to inherit some of those pieces. So on either side of the sofa, we have these two paintings from the races. And then over here on the left side of the window, we have two more pieces. These pieces hung in our house growing up. My sister has another set of them, and then I have this set. So what I love about them is the wood frame on them, and they're very traditional, and they remind me of the memories of growing up in our home. So the rug, we selected the colors. It was custom hand loomed in India to complement the living room, as well as the other, the teal color of the walls and the blue of the sofa. Again, we went with a more contemporary feel for the pillows in here, but then again we mixed it with a needlepoint pillow. This needlepoint pillow was needlepointed for my mom as a wedding gift back in 1980, and then of course we have a monogrammed throw. So in this room, as well as in the dining room, we wanted to lighten the tone and create white window treatments, but then add the navy and cream colored trim to it to tie in with the rug and the sofa and the walls. It's so funny. So this is everyone's favorite room in the house. I think it's a combination of the paint color, the warmth of the fabrics, the rug that we selected, the light that comes in. It gets phenomenal morning light, it gets phenomenal afternoon light, but it seems to be everyone's favorite room. Here we are in our dining room. For this room, we chose Faro and Ball ring-walled wallpaper in this saturated coral color. What I like about this is we've toned it down. It works really nicely with the window treatments that we had. Again, that French blue that I love so much. Other great thing about this wallpaper is it works all year round for any season. So whether it's Christmas or the spring, you can really change your tablescape to complement the wallpaper. So I think so many times people shy away from color and think, oh, well, if I put this wallpaper in my dining room, it'll be too polarizing, and how would I set a table? But really, I think you can do anything with this wallpaper. So here I have a spring table set up. I am typically not one who gravitates towards the color purple, but lilac is in season now, and I just had this thought to take this beautiful hand-blown in Los Angeles glass vase and pair it with lilac. I leaned into the purple for this tablescape. I used a purple charger and then also paired it with these beautiful Sphera linen napkins from the Monogrammed Home in Pansy is the color. And I did a tone-on-tone monogram, which I really like, and I think it's sophisticated and timeless and can really go, it's very versatile for any table that you set. So we selected this beautiful glass and brass chandelier for the room. I think it's a statement piece. What I like about it so much is it's contemporary, but it feels sophisticated and really goes with whatever the table is here. This china cabinet is built-in. It's original to the house, so from 1922 when we were doing our remodel of it. On the back side, you can see that the original architect of the house signed the back side of that, which I think is really neat. And we had our contractor sign it as well. So one day, 100 years from now, when they go to remodel this house, they'll find everyone's mark on it. So I love collecting ginger jars, blue and white pieces from my travels, from local antique shops around town, and I just wanted to show you some of my favorites. So these belonged to my grandmother, and I remember from being a little kid and them always being on display in her dining room. So I'm fortunate enough to have them on display in here. I've paired them with a mix of ginger jars, plates behind them. I love these monkey candlesticks that I found. I think it's really neat to mix old and new together. So obviously this is new, but it lightens the tone with the old ginger jars and plates. So our dining room transitions into a butler's pantry. So this is what I call the jewel box of the house. I wanted to create a place to display all of my barware, glassware, china, and I think we accomplished it in this room. So for this cabinet, we went with a high gloss. We did Old Blue Jeans by Benjamin Moore. We paired it with unlacquered brass hardware to give it that jewel, glossy, rich, textured feeling. We love to collect matches. Anywhere along our travels, New York, Europe, Florida, California, anywhere we've been, we've collected matches and we keep them in here. And then we also have a bowl here of personalized matches with my husband's initials on it. So it's always a fun kind of thing. We love when friends come over and they take them and then they add them to their collections in their homes. So because I'm such a collector, my latest obsession in collecting are William Yoward martini glasses. And so I think it's always fun to have a mix. Don't buy 6 or 8 or 10 of the same martini glass. Mix it up, have fun with it. So I have here a collection of our martini glasses, ones with palm trees. We have floral here. We have a more coupe style glass. And then also, I think this is just such a fun contemporary martini glass. So the other great thing about collecting and having a variety of glassware is if you're the guest at someone's house and you can't remember whose drink is which, at least you should be able to remember the shape that you're given. So I think it's a conversation piece. In our remodel, it was important to us to add a formal powder bathroom for our guests to use. And so we added this little hidden gem inside the pantry. We selected Brunswick and Fee pagoda chinoiserie style wallpaper in here. It's a very small space, but I think the wallpaper makes it feel larger than it really is. Also important for us was we couldn't find a vanity that fit the space well. They were too small, not too deep, and so what we did was create a marble countertop wall to wall that would allow us the opportunity to add a candle and flowers and paper guest towels to the sink. So moving out of the butler's pantry, we are now entering the kitchen. This was new and is part of the remodel. When we bought the house 11 years ago, the kitchen hadn't been touched since '92. So we walked into a 1990s ski chalet. We had green tile countertops. We had a maple colored cabinetry. And we knew that we wanted to change the kitchen, but we didn't know exactly how we wanted to change the kitchen, what our life would look like living in this house. So it's really important to us that we live in the house and get a feel for the flow and what our daily life was like and routine with 2 children. After several years, we figured it out and we wanted to create a space that was light and comfortable, a gathering spot, but that opened into a family room too. So we selected leathered black quartzite countertops for the island. My mom has something similar to this, and we just loved the statement that it made in the room. It also pairs really nicely into the hallway that has the black and white checkerboard tile as well. Above our island, we have these 2 pendant lights. They were custom made with this blue and white geometric fabric, and I just love the way they showcase the island. The other thing that I love about this room is I always wanted to have a coffered ceiling in the kitchen, and I think we have accomplished it really well in here. We've added a lot of molding, a lot of detail around each of the beams, as well as around the hood of the stove. So I love appliances. I love having a desk in my kitchen, but what I don't love is clutter. And so it was really important to me that we create pocket doors on our appliance garage to hide clutter and whatnot. So behind these pocket doors, we have our toaster oven, our KitchenAid mixer, cookbooks. What I love is that you can hide all your appliances behind these doors. In our kitchen, we wanted to have a desk space, a family computer for the kids to use to do their homework, but then in an area where we would be present. And so behind these pocket doors, we created a desk. We know that desks can start to look a little messy over time, and so I really wanted a space that we could hide, but that was in the kitchen where we spend so much of our time. So we have 2 children, and I wanted an island where our children could sit at. If they each have a friend for a play date, they could sit at the island. They could enjoy a snack here and time together. I love having the sink on the island and the chairs here because it creates a conversation. So if I'm here doing the dishes or I'm making a snack and the kids are sitting here, it's easy to have a conversation and ask them about their day or what they're up to and be engaged with them. So in our kitchen and several of the other rooms in our house, we don't have a lot of wall space to hang art. And so what I've decided to do instead is prop pieces of plein air art up against the wall and create kind of a vignette, use the butter dish in front of it, and really draw your attention to that artwork. So our kitchen transitions really nicely into our family room. We wanted more of an open feel, contemporary feeling and space to enjoy each other's company here. So you can see that in the front of the house, we have our formal rooms, and then back here we go into more contemporary open plan. We did a vaulted ceiling to really open up the space and create a lot of light in the room. What I also love about this is it feels like 2 separate rooms, but they work so nicely together. And so I can be in the kitchen cooking or doing work, and the kids can be here playing a game or watching TV, and we can have a conversation. And so it's really nice to have an open space where we're all together, yet we all have our own individual areas. So this chair belonged to my husband's great-grandfather, and it is the most comfortable chair you will ever sit in. We had it reupholstered in this beautiful Oscar de la Renta fabric, which really created the basis of all the fabrics that we chose for this room. So again, you'll see the green and the blue and the coral, and we just went a little more muted with those colors in here, but continued that story from the living room into our family room. So as you can imagine, having 2 kids, this being our main area for watching TV, this is a high traffic seating area. So we recovered the sofa in a perennial fabric, which is a great performance fabric, and did this beautiful cornflower blue color, which I just absolutely adore. My personal favorite room, I would say, is our new family room, which was an addition that we just completed. I love the fabrics that we selected in there. The space is very comfortable, yet sophisticated, I would say. So my kids enjoy watching TV there and are comfortable, but it's a great space that we can entertain in and really, dress up for parties and whatnot. So when we were living in New York, we collected a lot of Jonathan Adler pieces, and we bought a pair of these chinoiserie lime green chairs while living in New York. And we had them in the garage, and I figured, why not use them? Why not add a pop of color? Bring in the green, but bring it in a different hue. And so we reupholstered them and brought in the fabric that we have over on the banquette pillows to kind of create more of a contemporary fun feel in this room. We added this side table. It is a rattan side table. We love the beach and spending time in New Jersey in the summers and going up to Carmel. And so I wanted to incorporate kind of beachy rattan feels into the house. And I think this side table does a great job with that, as well as the side tables on flanking the sofa. So these pieces here are all by an artist, Alicia Maheen, who's based in Carmel as well. A very well-known plein air artist. And this is a scene of a farmer's market in the Monterey Bay area. Why I think the chairs work so well in this room too is they reflect the lime green of the umbrella too. And so there's that connection to the chair as well. So one of our favorite things to do as a family is collect sea glass. Our kids love collecting sea glass just as much as we do. And so we have this jar here of the pieces that we've collected from all throughout the world. So last year we went to Panama and we found this island that was covered in sea glass. And so we found huge, big chunks of every amazing color. And I think it's colors like this that have inspired our house as well. And so wherever we go, whether it's Panama, up the coast of California to New Jersey, we have collected sea glass and we've added it to this jar to create a story for our family. So this is the dining area in our family room. We added a built-in banquette over here. We laminated the fabric because primarily the children eat on the banquette. And we wanted a easy wipeable space that would preserve the fabric and still look elegant. We added oversized pillows onto the banquette to create a fun feel and really showcase the beautiful fabric. I love entertaining. I love mixing and matching china, doing the unexpected. So this is our formal china, and I think it's really fun. I think it's important to choose china that you gravitate towards because then you're more likely to use it. So I'm not one for plain white or ivory with gold and detail to it. I like something fun, a pop of color. As I mentioned, we love the beach so much. And so incorporating the coral into this china is fun and it adds a smile to your face. So I love the idea of mixing and matching. You can do blue and white pieces with stars on it. It matches really nicely with the coral. I love mixing patterns too. So with this striped tablecloth, I thought it'd be really fun to mix it up with the monogram and do more of a circular monogram style to show the juxtaposition of shapes. So these X benches were with us in New York as well. We had them in our apartment there, and we reupholstered them to provide extra seating for this room. So oftentimes we'll have families over for dinner and we need extra seating for kids. So these are easy, super easy to pull in and out stools that can be used in this space. We can use them over in our family room. You can really move them throughout the house. And so it's really important to me when designing our house that we use versatile pieces that we could mix and match in other rooms and whatnot to work and accommodate our guests. So because we live in Southern California and it's usually sunny year round and we can entertain and be outside so much of the year, it was really important to me that we have doors that open to the outside, to the exterior, and create an inviting space. So we flanked either side of the banquette with two doors that easily access the exterior patio. So living in Southern California, we do a lot of outdoor entertaining, and we wanted this patio to be an extension of our home, you know, another dining room, if you will. We added on the majority of the east side of our house right here to my right, and so we wanted with the two sides to create this intimate feeling dining room that was kind of another extension of the house and a room in and of its own. And so we went with a table to seat 8 that really helps to lengthen the area. We also created a outdoor living room feel over here that opens up to the backyard so that you could see the variety of green foliage that we have and the layers that we created of greenery. This area is completely redone. So our goal was to make it look like it was traditional to the home. So prior, when we purchased the house, this was a cement pad, and it had been cracked and broken and layered, and it was kind of a hodgepodge. And so what we did is we added the brick to the patio. We went with a traditional basket weave pattern to stay true to a colonial style house. My husband and I went and hand selected all of the brick that we used at the house. All of the brick came from demoed buildings in downtown LA, which is really neat to keep with the Los Angeles area and the history and the culture of our community. So I've always wanted to have a climbing jasmine trellis. And so in this, we had this wall and it seemed a little stark to be solid white. And so I wanted to create an element of detail. Our master bedroom is directly across from it. So when you're in bed, it's really nice to like look out and see greenery. And so we created this beautiful trellis. We added impatiens along the bottom. This is a Mexican lime tree, which is really great for tequila cocktails. And then we added rosemary along the bottom of it. So it's really important when we were doing our home and our garden. We stuck with the green and white color palette, and we tried to use it in different plants and different flowers, but stick with that green and white feel and add depth with different plants. When we bought the house, the privet hedge here existed, the taller hedge in the back, but we wanted to add more detail, more layers, create variety. So we added the variegated mock orange as our second green and white layer. And then we did a dwarf pittosporum in the front to create more of a rounded hedge, creating that depth. At night, it's really nice. We have uplighting that lights the hedge, and so you can get those greens and whites and silvers. And I just love the way that we did the light to really showcase the foliage. The other thing that I love is we have a downlight in our oak tree that shines down, and so at night in the evenings when you look down at the grass, you see the silhouette of the tree, of the beautiful oak tree that's been here probably since the house was built. So in the garden I wanted to use citrus, things that we would use in our everyday cooking or needs. So as you can see, we have a lot of potted citrus around. We have it right here, and at the base of the potted citrus I added oregano. It's a great ground covering, and then also, as you know, a very useful spice. In here I created this trough for vegetables, and so we have carrots and cilantro, rosemary, dill, sage, parsley, thyme, whole bunch of different herbs that we use in our everyday cooking that I thought, why not grow in our own backyard. I think what makes a home come alive is the interior design and the pieces that you select along your journey in life to add to your home. So whether it's a piece that you found traveling to Europe, or you went to the Rose Bowl flea market and picked up a piece, or you shopped at the Monogrammed Home and got cocktail napkins. You know, I think it's finding those pieces throughout your life journey and what gravitates to you that you fill your home with that gives it soul. The word home to me means a place where you gather with your family, with friends, a place where you come together and get to experience and enjoy one another's company. I think the pieces that you pick up along your travels and life journey really add to your home and make it a home versus a house. It's the warmth of fabrics, it's the warmth of the people in it. It's telling a story about your life and not just filling a space with furniture to enjoy.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Bob and you're at my home in Dallas, Texas. Come on in, I can't wait to show you around.
I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we're now offering a membership plan that gives our supporters early and exclusive access to new videos.
Hi, Homeworthy.
I'm Roz.
You're here at my home in Los Angeles?
Come on in. I can't wait to show you around.
With this membership, we invite you to open more doors, discovering new homes, rooms, and personalities available only to those with the keys to our guest house. You'll be part of a community of people who are just as passionate as you are about interior design. To access all of this exclusive content, simply click the Join button below to become a member today. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Bob Gibbs, and we're at my home in Dallas, Texas. I have been in this house for 17 years. It's the longest I've ever lived in one location. The house was built in 1926, so if she's closing in on 100 years, which is, anyone that's familiar with Dallas will know that's a rarity. We like to tear things down. So it's a miracle that she has survived. And I live here with my partner, Matthew Wilson, and our miniature dachshund, Mabel. This is a Tudor revival. So from the outside, it's a traditional red brick with the swooping roof line. Inside, a lot of the original features are still in the house. So I have all plaster walls. When you get to the fireplace, you'll see a bachelor fireplace, which are fairly rare in Texas, and then lots of arches and crown and millwork and original windows. So you'll see all of that as we go through the house. I've made 3 passes on this house on construction. So when I moved in, it was 1,400 square feet, a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. That's what I thought I wanted when I bought this house, and quickly realized after moving in that it just was too small for me. And so I've done 3 additions to the house, completing the last one just 3 months ago. I'm a collector. I've watched all the Homeworthy shows. 99% of your people are collector, and we're a crazy bunch. So you'll see as you walk through the house, there's lots of collections. I love bronzes. I love lamps. I can't stop myself from a pair of lamps. It's like kryptonite for me. Art is an expensive problem for me that I'd like to find a cure for. So there's a lot of stuff in this house. So I try to temper that collection a couple of ways by smalls. For some reason, I'm drawn to the little small things. And so you'll see I try to corral those into bookcases or cabinets so it doesn't feel so busy. And then, you know, for the furnishings, I would say they're primarily going to be not modern, they're current, but maybe transitional. And so I try to mix that style. So hopefully, you know, you and your viewers see it as that and don't read it as grandma. So hopefully I'm fighting the good fight against grandma. Welcome to my living room. I am not a fan of homes with no entryways, and I bought a house with no entryway. So you walk right into the front door into my entryway. It's an old house, 100 years old, and there are a lot of quirky things about this house I love, one of which is the door. The door is original, all of the arching and all of that. When I moved in, it had a really bad 70s stained glass in it of daffodils, and you know, I thought, not my favorite, but it was a little janky, and I tried to repair it, and then one night at 2 a.m. I hear the glass breaking and falling to the floor. So I just had clear for a while, and then about a month after it fell out, I was at an antique store and walking by, and that dusty thing was sitting on the ground for $20, and I thought, what are the chances that that thing will fit? Brought it home, perfect fit, snapped it in, put a little dap in, and it's been there everywhere. So that's all Bob's handiwork. So super handy there. One of the things that I just loved when I bought this house was the original fireplace. This is a Batch Elder fireplace, which is the man who developed and handmade all of these tiles. Pasadena-based guy from about 1903. He was kind of the first to do high quality goods and advertise them in the way that like builders were interested in shipping them across country. So you'll find pockets of them across the US. It's rare as hen's teeth to find them in Dallas. So I just love this and all the detail. We have the cove molding. I'm not sure if it catches in here, but I love how these ceilings cove up and give you a little extra height. On the top of the mantle, a couple of things you're going to hear today: mom and grandmothers. And so mom and grandmother highly influenced me. Both were antique collectors, drugged me along on their shopping expeditions. And so that's where kind of this love of old things comes from. When I talk about my mom, you'll hear I stole that from her house, or she gave it to me, meaning I said, "Can I have that?" And she said, "Sure." So on the mantle, a beautiful French clock, bronze clock on a rouge base that I stole out of her pantry of all places. And then these, I love. These are some of my favorite things. These are Henri Dufay. He is a French bronze foundry worker from France at the time of Marie Antoinette. These are not from Versailles, but he did cabinets with a lot of the gilt bronze work that went into Versailles. So these are fantastic. These are chenets. So if you don't know what a chenet is, those are fire dogs. I can't imagine something so beautiful being down there and getting burned by fires, but you can see on the back of them where the support went so they could hold their logs. So just love these. And then above it is an artist that I have collected for a number of years. His name is Michael Workman, and primarily does the American West. This is an unusual work for him. I haven't been able to verify, but I believe this may have been a student piece. I bought this at a corporate auction they were getting rid of all their corporate art. And this thing weighs about 300 pounds. It's on steel. The under support is steel, and then all of this paint work is done by rotary blades, acid washes, and then patina put on. So I just love how that contemporary feel really is an American Southwest painting. So one of my favorite pieces of art. Over to the right here, we have my monkey. This is Dresden monkey. Carl Thiem was the designer. He, worked for Meissen and Dresden. A friend of mine bought one. I had to have one, and it took me about 3 years to find it. Finally found it at auction at Christie's, and he's come home to live with me. The interesting thing that you'll hear from me is like, I bought one monkey, and then suddenly monkeys started popping up around me. And it's like I wasn't even looking for monkeys. So as we go through the house, you'll go, oh, there's another monkey. And so that you'll hear that story, whether it be bronzes or things like that. I'll be like, oh, I started with one and suddenly I have 50. So, and then as we move into the corner of the living room, have a beautiful French desk. I don't use it as a desk. It's all display. One of the things as an art collector I had always wanted was an old master painting, and they've gone in and out of fashion. Even when they're out of fashion, they're ridiculously expensive. And so this is an old master painting that I found from a great dealer here in Dallas, and I begged and pleaded and needled and got the price down, and then he let me pay it out over a couple of months. And so, finally Bob has an old master painting. So really love that. That's Agamemnon, so it copies David painting that's over in Fort Worth. It's one of my favorite paintings, so I was thrilled to get that. And then the other thing, I lost my grandmother, who was my antique running buddy last year, and so you'll hear me say a couple of things. This was one of her pieces, and it's a Champ-Follet bronze inkwell, which I just love, and it was one of her favorite things, so I'm happy to have it in the house. Those are teak garden balls that I found. Wisteria was a local Dallas company that was a catalog business, and they also were extreme shoppers. So they'd shop all over the world and bring back one-offs and then manufacture some of, reproduce some of the things they had found. And so they went out of business and sold to another company, and so they had their sample sale. And these are giant teak balls that were supposed to go out into a garden, but they never produce them. So these are just samples that I thought looked great in kind of a dead spot where this stair comes down and doesn't leave me much option. All the floors in the house are original, and as we move through the house, the newer parts of the house, we matched the white oak. These are a particular think these are 2.5-inch wide and about 2.5-inch deep, tongued, and so we found old goods and married them up and tied them together. So yeah, throughout the house you have 100-year-old hardwood floors that still look amazing, I think. They have some dings and, you know, scratches and things like that, but that's what makes a house great. Yeah, so when I moved into this house, I think I said to you guys, it looked nothing like this. And so I'm only the 4th owner of this house, so a 100-year-old house, and I'm the 4th owner. And everyone that has lived in this house has really loved it. There are notes that get passed forward to the next owners. There's journals of what were done to the house by that owner. Sometimes in their house, some of the blueprints are still here. And so when I bought from the last owner, she had just done amazing, the stuff I hate doing, like the mechanicals, the roof, all the hard stuff was done. But all the walls were like a terracotta. She had beautiful taste, but it was like walking in either to a Santa Fe or a Taos Pueblo. So imagine terracotta walls, a lot of terracotta down on the floors in the bath, black and white Indian photographs, and so very light and different. And so I knew I wanted something different, and so I wanted historic colors, and where we had the opportunity to subtly, I'll tell you the story because no one ever gets it. I wait for them to pick it up and they never get it. So in all the original parts of the house from 1926, I did go with this green, which is a custom color that I developed for, and then had Benjamin Moore make, and the same with this kind of mustardy gold trim. I wanted historical trim colors and the brown on the fireplace. As we moved through the house, anything that was added to or as a new addition, I flipped. And so the walls are historic colors, custom made for me, but all of the trim work will be white. And so that's the indication that those rooms are new. These are a Dallas artist called Carmen Menza, and she does light box installations in all different sizes. I have 3, so you'll see another one in another part of the house. I love them. They're unexpected. They're not colors that I decorate with, which I love, because again, I think art should be different. You'll see none of my art makes sense with each other. They don't talk well to each other, and I like that about them. They kind of influence each other. So she has a secret of these. I know her secret. I only know because one of them had to be repaired, and I got to look in it. But when you'll see it face on, it moves depending on where you're standing. So they're 2 of my favorite things. They were gifts from my partner Matthew for one of my birthdays. So they're just fantastic. She does great work. All right, now we're going to go into my music room. Follow me. All right, so now we're in my music room, which I think is a little grandiose. This room is maybe 7 by 11, so why don't we call it like the piano porch? Because again, old house, this would have been the original open porch, and so there would have been French doors where we walked through, and all these windows have been added to enclose it. So it's a small room, but it does fit the grand piano, which was my first real purchase when I graduated from high school. I had a relative who was tired of the piano. I play. And so she offered it to me, and I paid it out for like 2 years. And so I felt like I was a real adult when I bought my first grand piano, my only grand piano. Things that in here I love, these were little gifts from my partner Matthew. These are from a Dallas sculptor, Brad Oldham, the brother of Todd Oldham, the fashion designer. And he does all of these birds and walking mans, and you'll see giant ones around the city that are public installation pieces. So I love those. This I painted. One of my degrees is in fine art, and so I painted this. So this is one of mine. I wouldn't say I love it, but I like it. Grandmother's Waterford chandeliers that I've moved at every house that I've had. So it's been in dining rooms, entryways, now it's in the piano porch. It will follow me everywhere. And then I just love this painting here. It's a French artist. His name is Rigaud. You'll see a couple of them in the house, but he's most known He does some beach scenes, very casual, loose beach scenes in the Impressionist style. But this one is what he's really known for, which are cathedral interiors. And I just love the darkness. You know, if you've been into a cathedral in any part of the continent, you know, you walk in and if it's a cloudy day, it's dark, and then the shaft of light hits these windows and just illuminates it. So I love the nuns, and I love the stained glass and all the detail work of the masonry and joinery vaults and everything like that. So one of my favorite paintings. And then on these shelves, I have to say, I didn't buy one thing that is on these shelves, and I didn't realize it until I was dusting these damn things the other night, because there's just a lot to dust in this room. These all came from my mother, and so I think I said one time in passing, I'm going to do some shelves in alabaster and white stone, and thus it began. And so every time I went home, something new was produced, where she found it at a garage sale, estate sale, and so, you know, these just came in a couple of weeks ago. She had found those at an antique mall, and so Mom has given me all of these white, tan, and beige things that I think work really well in here. This statue, grandmother, as I said, I lost my grandmother last year. She's 97 years old and was a Spitfire to the end, and so this was on one of her banisters, and at one time would have been lit for gas. And so before electricity, there would have been an attachment here, and so this would have been a light to provide some illumination in here. Oh, and then I forgot, you know, the count your pennies and get what you want. I think I had read an Architectural Digest when I might have been 23 or 24, and there was a photograph of, I don't even remember whose apartment it was, but they had this stark antelope carpet, and I just thought, one day I'm going to have that. And so a couple of years ago I saved my pennies and got this put down in the piano porch, and as always is the case, you have a little too much, and they were getting ready to take it out. I said, oh no, this is like gold. You're not taking any of the scraps away. I'll find something to do with these. And I lived with them for a couple of months thinking, what am I gonna do with this? It's like golden fleece. And then I made the decision, well, maybe I'll just seam it and put it up the stairs. And so I was lucky to get a twofer. I got a floor and a runner. So you'll see the runner as we go upstairs in a little bit. When I walked in, well, I guess I should back up just a little bit. Like I say, I moved every 2 or 3 years. I'd find a house, redo it, flip it, and go to the next house. And always in this part of town. I'm in the Lakewood area of Dallas, which is about 1 mile away from White Rock Lake, which is kind of the crown jewel of Dallas for those of us that like to walk and run and bike. And the Arboretum is also there. So I've always lived in the area, but had never lived in a Tudor, which this area is really known for. And so I put my prior house on the market, and it surprised me it sold before it hit the market. And so the wrinkle was they wanted it in 2.5 weeks, and so, or the deal was off. So I have a fantastic realtor. We looked at 66 houses in 6 days, and nothing met my needs. And this was the last house we looked at. And we walked in, and it didn't look like this, but we walked in, and I immediately said, I can make this work. And so made the offer and moved in 3 weeks later. All right, now we're in my dining room, which is a new addition for me. This, until about 3 or 4 months ago, was our formal living room. As I've said, I've done 3 additions on this house over time, and so until 3 or 4 months ago, traditional living room in here. When we had people over to dine, we completely emptied this room and brought in a table that we have in storage and chairs that were in storage and did that. So it was a real commitment if you were going to have a dinner party. So we're thrilled to have a dedicated dining space, and obviously we're getting ready for a party. We didn't clean this house for Homeworthy and not get it ready for a party, so we're having a little dinner party tomorrow night. So things I love in this room, you're about to see as we move into the Butler's pantry. Bob and Matthew like stuff, and we really like dishes, silver, crystal, any things to deal with table. And so this was one of my first purchases in China, refined China, which is the Royal Crown Derby, Old Amari. And I just love that, and paired it with Mosier, which is German glass, chargers, and then salad plates. Silver is Grand Baroque. All of the glassware is Waterford Mave. And so just love the table stuff. So you'll see we have about 25 sets of china. So, you know, it depends on who we're having and what they've seen. Sometimes it's all in white, sometimes it's blue and white. So today we're Crown Derby, a little more official. Love this light fixture. This was an antique French fixture that was a candelier, meaning originally had no electricity. It just burned off candles. And I just love the subtle shimmer of those amethyst glass beads. You don't see those that often anymore. So was thrilled to find those. And this was in the dustiest antique mall you can imagine, with the most disparate things you can imagine, meaning like toilet tissue holder things that your grandma had knitted. And so this stuck out like a sore thumb, and we went back 4 or 5 times and, you know, kept negotiating. Finally, they lost their lease and they needed to negotiate. So that's a new addition for us with the dining room. So love that piece. And then these, a pair of Baker chests, antique Baker, for Baker I should say, and then an antique sideboard Baker piece over there. So got a little matchy-matchy, but they're from different collections, which is fine. Other things, you know, that I love in here, we needed a pair of good mirrors in the dining room. They're surprisingly hard to find. Antique ones or pairs are impossible. If you do find them, they're prohibitively expensive. So I found this is Vintage Carvers. I can't remember where they're out of, but they still do all of their carving by hand, all of their bevel work by hand, and they still do this beautiful water gilt on all of their frames and mirrors. So I just think they're beautiful. They look appropriate. They go with the furniture, and they're just a little different. And then the elephant in the room, which are these tacky, fantastic lamps. I just love these things, and we bought them when we were getting this dining room. We started looking for lamps, and I said at the beginning, I've never met a lamp I didn't like. So these we thought were just like enough to give some gravitas to this dining room. So they're over the top, but we love them. So that's them. Across the sideboard back there, you heard me say I start with a monkey and then suddenly monkeys follow me around. I may be off, but I would say 8 months ago, besides this china, I didn't own a piece of Amari porcelain. Now you see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bottle vases. There's a lot of Amari in this room and in this case, and as we move through the house, you'll see even more. So now we collect Amari because everywhere we go, there's a piece of Amari, so you got to buy it. And so we love having people over. It's so great to be able to have the space and to be able to leave it out and set up a couple of days early, and so it's worked really well for us. So it's a great room, and at night it glows, so we really love the space. Furniture piece, another furniture piece in the room is this French. This is actually a French bookcase. This is a kind of a story that's like, how did it end up there? I had a friend that was moving from Dallas to New Mexico, and so she felt her house in New Mexico was going to be much more New Mexican. And so she sold all of her high French and, you know, fussier things. So she had this for sale. My mom bought it and put it in her house. And when I moved into this house, I said, hey, Mom, you know, that cabinet would be just perfect for my room. And she said, well, what am I getting? So we traded. I had an antique cabinet that was about twice as big as this, which she needed the bigger cabinet. So this comes from my mom through a friend that she bought it. And so it holds a ton of, you know, stuff. Again, I said we collect things, and so I try to corral them where they're just not over every tabletop. So, you know, in here you'll find more Amari, you'll find Parian, throughout the house, which Parian we just love. It's, you know, was made during the Victorian age, and it was the poor man's marble. And so they did statues and busts of just everybody, and so you name it and there's a bust. So it's scattered throughout the house. And then I have an enormous collection of, again, it started with these porcupine quill boxes. They were made in India. When the British occupied India, the soldiers would make these and send them home as mementos. And so they come in all sizes and shapes, and so I've got way too many of them. But you'll see more of those throughout the house. And then, of course, more of the bottle vases. Again, we started, I think, with one, and we're up to about 42 of those now. So, yeah, so tomorrow night we're having two neighbor couples. That's, you know, one of the things I absolutely love about this neighborhood is we are friends with our neighbors, good friends. And so we're having neighbors across, two sets across the street in separate houses come over tomorrow. We don't entertain, we're not informal people. So even when we try to be informal and set like a white table, a tablescape emerges. And so I would say we're a little more formal. So this table obviously is a little more formal. The normal, I would say I cut it down a little bit by doing not traditional flowers, so doing more of the plants and just keeping it kind of simple and organic. But the meal, we're having homemade gazpacho. It's one of the things I can do and I do pretty well. And then we're doing a Gladly salad, which if you've never had one, you should look it up. I think it's at the Biltmore Hotel in Arizona, and it is the most beautiful salad. You can make it in advance, which is great if you're doing a dinner party. And then it's beautiful. It's sectioned in different ingredients, and then you top it with whatever your guest prefers. So like we're doing a smoked salmon and chicken option for them. And so then fresh bread, lots of wine, champagne, and other drinks, and then a great trifle for dessert. So high and low, I would say. All right, so now if you'll follow me, we're gonna go through to the butler's pantry. So this is my butler's pantry, and during the renovation, this recent renovation, this was really our only eating area. So this was a small banquette with a small table, a couple of windows here. So it wasn't really functional for us. It was not easy for folks to get in or get out of the banquette, and so we just didn't utilize it much. And then I just decided it would make a fantastic butler's pantry for us. And as I said in the dining room, we're collectors of tableware and things like that. And so prior to having this, you know, we had dishes under beds and in cabinets all over the house. And so now we get to store and see the stuff that we use. So we're finding we are using things more often. So, you know, in here we have all of the different silver candlesticks. You know, this is a new addition. Well, that's not the one. This is a new addition that I just bought. That's an antique Royal Crown Derby. Got to figure out one for that. And then Wedgwood Medici and Wedgwood in gold ivy. And I think there's like 5 other there. But what it did is it got us super, I'm organized if you hadn't told, but got me super organized. So like these drawers, you know, able to do the cut glass in a way, I open it and I can see it and immediately know what I'm going to use. And so this has just worked out beautifully for us. This is original to the house, the one part of the storage that's original. So, you know, all of the glassware goes in here. So it works out really well for us. And this was a major, one wouldn't think this was as major as it was, but I talked about how heavy the plasterwork is in this house. And literally in this butler's pantry, it was raised in parts. It was like meringue almost in parts. And so we went through the painful process of sanding the hallway, the butler's pantry, and the kitchen down to accept wallpaper. And I just love it. This is the T-bow, and it doesn't show in this light, but maybe when we get in the hallway, it has just a slight little bit of gold shimmer. And you know, as you've seen, I like a little bit of gold, or a lot. So I like that kind of juxtaposition of the grass cloth and then that kind of gold thread coming through. Love this little French snow skiing. It's by Jules Hervé. I have a couple of his paintings, and I just love how it captures. I've been there during that time of year where it looked like that, so it reminds me of the journey. And then this girl is interesting to me. I love her. Solid marble, heavy as all get out, and I got her, and there were 3 others. So she's spring, there was fall, winter, and summer. And so they sat on 4 pillars of a garden. And so I got spring, and she used to live in my garden, and then I brought her in at this house. And then, of course, for all of us that drink, constant bar makes it easy for when you have guests over. They can serve themselves. Just send them in here and serve themselves. And then, as you see, more Amari, more Perrier. Again, a year ago, I don't think I had a piece of this. So it's finding me. And then, you know, I don't like to talk about, you know, super bargains, but this one's a super bargain. This alabaster pendant weighs about 150 pounds. And that, my mother, I went to see her one Sunday, and walking through her garage through her pile of stuff she had bought this week, and that was there. And I said, I'm going to take that. And she said, okay, you owe me $2. I bought that at a thrift store for $2. So it's moved with me from every house. And to me, it's the perfect fixture in this house with that warm yellow gold that I just love that light. I don't like unadorned space. Unfortunately, I walk into these beautiful modern homes. I have friends, you know, and they have like one book and one beautiful candle. And I think, I want to live that way. And then I just think, well, what are you going to do with all your stuff? And so I love it. I just know it's not the way I'm going to live. So I don't like to have a blank backsplash. And so I found these antique watercolors, and I think they're Croatia, or maybe they're Prague. But I just like that there were 4 of them. I had them reframed in more of a little contemporary matte style. And just love kind of the interest. So you'll see art hung in unconventional places as we move through the house. Because as you're a collector, you run out of space and you got to find new places to hang things. It's a big secret. I'm not sure I can share that with you. It's command strips. I don't know what we did before command strips. So that's how they're hung. They're the kind that are not a hook. They're Velcro to Velcro, sticky on both sides, stick, press, stay. All right, so now we're going to go into the kitchen, so follow me this way. So as I told you, when I moved into this house, it was 1,400 square feet, 2 bedroom, 1 bath. Tiny. And it was just me at that point, so I thought, oh, I can make this work. So this was the original footprint of the kitchen. So the refrigerator was here, but was not built in. And so recently had that done just to clean up the space. And so kitchen went through this last remodel, just kind of a light refresh. So repainted the cabinets. This is a custom historical color that I made up for Benjamin Moore made for me. So we repainted in the same thing. But I did take the opportunity to upgrade the countertops. The original, they weren't original, but they had walnut countertops. And while they were beautiful, I'm not a cooker, but my partner Matthew cooks every night, and they just are problematic. They do everything that a person with OCD hates. They stain, they show dust. They just drove me crazy. But I did have a beautiful antique French backsplash tile, all hand painted, and unfortunately there wasn't enough to carry forward. So just went with quartz. It's indestructible. It works well for his hot pans, his cutting, anything you can do. I'm a kind of a crafter, so I come in here and do things on it, and so far we haven't been able to damage it as of yet. So it's worked really well for us. This island, not an island, I think it was a desk, but this was something that was in the house when I bought it. And so when I walked into the house, I thought, what are the chances I'm going to find? I didn't want something new and slick and shiny. Again, not a cook, so I more care about the look than the functionality sometimes. But loved this antique table from Mexico. It's about 250 years old. And so we use it as our island, and it has drawers in it that holds bills. So one for Matthew, one for me, and not very functional for cutting or anything like that, but holds stuff. And at a dinner party, you can pile a charcuterie board or something like that on there. So we love this, and I'm so glad I was able to keep that with the house. These two pieces of art here are two of my favorite things. I'll show you in a moment the very first piece of real art I bought. These were my number 2. I think I was 18. And they're carved ivory. So they're unusual. They're Elizabethan court scenes, so they have a lot of relief and drama in them. I just love them. They have a lot of imperfections. They've cracked over the years, and they've been repaired a million times. But, I remember the pain of buying them and the excitement of buying them, and oh my God, how am I going to pay for them? And then getting them paid off and think, well, what I'm going to buy next. And so I love them, and I love that they're in the kitchen. You'll find some of my favorite things are in the most unconventional places because I'm in here all the time. I want to be surrounded by things no matter where I am. So the green in here is surprisingly not the same green that you saw in the living room, but it is a historic color. And so one of the things I feel very strongly about is I don't like going from a red room to a green room to an orange room. I'd love to see that house, by the way. So I like a consistent color palette through a house. Now, I break a rule. So I always say, I know the rules, and you got to know the rules before you can break the rules. But as you move through the house, you'll see these greens and beiges. You'll see in a moment the introduction of a kind of a persimmon color and more creams. And I just think that makes each room a little bit different. It has its own stamp on it, but it's cohesive to the house. And I want this house to have warmth, and I believe these colors really do warm up the house. And so hopefully people appreciate them. I know they're weird colors, but I just love them. All right, and we're just going to continue into the cooking part of the kitchen. And so this probably, talk about the third iteration of this house edition. And I guess I should I keep saying I've done 3. The first was I added an ensuite to the bedroom, the one guest bedroom that was my primary when I moved in. We'll see that in a little bit later. The second edition was more major. It was the addition of the second floor, which contains the primary bedroom, dressing area, closet, and bathroom. And then the one we just finished about 3 or 4 months ago was really the family room, which we'll see in a moment, but it refreshed the kitchen, and then also it extended the kitchen, and that was just necessary to get to the space where we needed the great room. So we took the opportunity, you're gonna do it anyway, refreshed all the paint, cleaned up all the hardware, stove still on back order for a year. But took down the dated microwave vent combo and moved down into technology. I'm not an embracer of technology, to be quite honest. So, but I'm trying to be better. So now I have a microwave that's below the counter area and slides out. So that's new for me. And then the countertops, it really brightened up this kitchen. Those wood countertops, while lovely and warm, were dark. And so I do like this light quartz with just slight veining on it. And then it gave us just all of this new cabinetry that we didn't have before, because the kitchen would have stopped right here, I guess. So we gained about another 8 feet of kitchen and cabinetry and pantry, which is my favorite. And then of course, our Mabel station. And so I know it's ridiculous, but I'm just going to show you. Mabel has, she has her kibble, her water. She has her closet, if you will, with all of her turtleneck sweaters. So all Mabel's assortment is there of her dressing and then all of her food. So it gave us a chance to just really make the space work for us. And Mabel, who's our daughter. And then the unexpected thing is I didn't know I wanted a pantry. We had gotten very used to just storing stuff and buying fewer things and making more frequent trips to the grocery store. But you get a pantry and you love a pantry. So if you're interested in seeing the pantry, here she is. So I just love that I can now have adequate supplies of Topo Chico, all of my cereals and, cookies and fruits, and then all my white, kind of Blanc de Chien sits up there. So when that's primarily dishes and things we use outside. And so that's a perfect location for them to live there because it's just a short walk outside. So we love having this space here. And this was the original back door, by the way. So you can see it has the wave in it, and then we just frosted it for the pantry. And then you heard me say you're going to see art maybe where it's not supposed to be. We're still in the kitchen. And so I have art here too. So just a small chest that holds paperwork and keys and things like that. But this artist, her name is Koo Shadler. She fascinates me. She's a New England artist. I found her work in Santa Fe, but she is one of the few painters of this age that is painting with egg tempera. And if you're not familiar with that, that's what the Renaissance painters used. And so they mix their powders with egg yolk, and that creates a paint. And she paints with single or 3 hair bore brushes. And so you just get this infinite, tiny brushwork. And it probably won't show on camera, but like she even goes to the trouble of, like in the blonde hair, there's like 18 karat gold paint to give those highlights. So I love him. He reminds me of my nephew. I bought this painting kind of to commemorate a big 10-year milestone for me, a personal milestone, so it means a lot to me. And then under it, I have a Jeff Koons drawing. You don't see a lot of drawings by Jeff Koons. You know him for his sculptures. But I bought a small Jeff Koons in one of his limited series. You'll see that one in a sec. And so while I was talking to the artist, he said, "Would you like me to sign something?" I said, "Absolutely." And so he said, "Would you like me to draw something?" And I said, "Even better." And so that was a freebie, or a gift with purchase, I should say. And so had it framed well. And so now I can say I have a Koons drawing as well. I lead a sales and distribution team for half of North America for a corporation, and have done that for about 20 plus years. So no, I'm not a designer by trade, nor an architect. Okay, so now we're going to go into the new family room. Follow me. All right, so now we're in the family room, which is the newest addition to the house. So for the past 17 years, you'll see in a moment, we lived, or our family room was a spare bedroom. And so very tiny. We had a 30-inch television in there. We have an 85-inch television now, and I know I've heard everyone rave on their frame TVs and how it doesn't show that it's a TV, it's an art. I looked at them. They're great, so I'm not going to talk smack about the frame TV. This one just has a better picture, and Bob loves TV, and this is a TV room, and so we're having a big TV. So I don't care what it looks like, it's a great TV to watch movies on. But I love this room. It is exactly what I wanted it to be when I started working with my architect, who has been through every iteration of this house with me. And I love her because she listens, she knows the aesthetic that I have, she knows it's important to me that everything feel period. I do feel like I'm a steward of this house as the 4th owner. I talked about houses around this one being torn down and bigger houses going up. So I've done all of these things for my personal enjoyment, but also to make sure that this house endures, because this neighborhood is changing rapidly and I want this house to survive. So this turned out exactly as we wanted it. So I'll just walk you through a couple of things. I mean, I love the coved ceilings. You know, that was one of the things I thought, how can I get a little bit of period detail in the house without going crazy? So all of the millwork we did in here kind of matches the original millwork in other parts of the house. So that worked well. Again, moved this kind of funny muddy color in here. It's not the green from another room. This actually has much more a beigey yellow in it. You'll see it pick up through the drapes that has that same greeny beige in the walls. And so it's a different color. So as I said, as we move through the house, the colors talk to each other, but they're slightly different. And in this room, more than any, you'll see kind of the emergence of kind of that persimmon orange coming up through the rugs and the pillows and the throws, and then some of the art. So there's a lot to talk about in this room. Kind of piled it high with some of our favorite things, since this is where we spend the majority of our time. So tons of bronzes in here, tons of lamps. Again, never met a lamp I didn't like. Lots of art, and so I'll just talk about a couple of them. These two pieces, well, there's, how many are in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 of these by this artist in this room, and his name is Donald Rollers Wilson, and he's from Fayetteville, Arkansas, and he is crazy as a loon, and will admit that himself. So he paints these Gothic mythical stories, and so you'll see in a moment what I'm talking about. So this one, you've got the teepee with the match coming out of it, and then the big match. This is part of the narrative. So he has a book, and all of these characters make up these crazy stories, and so he's a nutcase, but I love what he does, and I love how he paints. He paints like a Renaissance painter, and I'll show you that over here with 3 of them. So this guy, I'm telling you, he's crazy. You know, you've got a dog, a monkey, and another dog all dressed up. This one's in a beanie. They all have little stories painted by hand around them. They all have names. This is Ugly Betty. She's one of the main characters. That's Patricia, Betty's cousin. Like, there's a whole family folklore in the book about these characters, and they just crack me up. They make me smile every time I walk by them. I have some very serious art, and these bring me more joy than any piece of art I have, because they're just unexpected and they're goofy. And then they're right next to, you know, not serious, but more formal things. So Empire bronze candle holder. Funny story on that one. I bought that 100 years ago at Christie's at auction, and didn't check the measurements, and I asked them to ship it, and the shipping was going to be, I want to say 10 times the price I bought this thing. I didn't pay anything for it. And I was going to be up there in 2 weeks for business, so I went up there, and it was a lamp and was about 3.5 foot tall. So I took it to UPS and then stood there and dismantled this lamp to get it down to this size to be able to ship it. So, you know, where there's a will, there's a way. And I just love, these were not new, but they're new to us, these Russian Empire bronze and gilt lamps that we got at Muse, one of our favorite antique places in town. And then this artist, he's really no longer painting, which breaks my heart. He's a young guy. His name's Nick Kosiak, and he paints Ukrainian children well before, you know, the conflict that we're in the middle now. But he spent time there and was horrified by, like, the orphanages and the sadness of the children. And so you will see these portraits, and I love the, you know, his closed fist indicating, you know, struggle or, you know, whatever he's going through, and then that openness of the open palm of, you know, hope. So I just love that. That's one of my very favorite paintings. All right, so as we move through the room, you know, if you haven't picked it up, and I think I already told you, I love bronzes. This was a Valentine's Day gift last year, I believe, and this is a Bustamante. He's a Mexican artist that does just really whimsical bronze work. So I love him. These are reproductions, but they are really good reproductions of the French Guédon tables, so I love these. These babies, these needlepoint chairs we found at the last minute to go in these rooms. Colors are perfect. I love the pattern of them on the pattern of the floor. They're comfortable, they're deep, and they're different. I mean, they're a little grandma-y, but I think they work. You know, I talked in here of, like, all of my upholstery is going to be a little bit more current. And so, you know, the sofa is a very straightforward sofa. The mohair chairs are in a very traditional profile, as are these little barrel chairs, and then the cocktail table in onyx. So very clean, timeless, and so I like to throw in some antiques where I can. You know, these are, and there's two, I'll show you the other one in a moment. These came from my grandma that I lost her last year, and I coveted these things for 48 years. I was with her when she bought them. I think I was 12 when we bought them. Yeah, I'm 60, so yeah. So I was 12. She bought them. They're terracotta, French terracotta, and they're young Napoleon and Josephine. So they would have sat for these. I've never seen another pair of them in my life, and I just love they retain all of their hand painting on them, just fabulous detail. They creep some people out, but I just love them. And again, they just add another conversation point in the room. So in the great room, you know, we've walked through the living room, dining room, butler's pantry, kitchen. This house, as you'll see, it meanders. It's a deceiving house. From the curb, it still looks like a 1,400 square foot house. People are surprised. They get in and we kind of wander and they're like, oh, there's another room, and it leads to another room and another room. And we talked about that. The architect and I talked really thoughtfully about, should we open up some more walls? And two reasons no. I decided no. Number one, I was already 30% over my estimate of what I was comfortable with, so I wasn't looking to add costs. And two, I thought that took away from what I was trying to do with the house. And what I mean by that is keep it as true to its original function as one could. So, like, listen, these houses, people live in them. Each owner puts their own stamp on them. I probably have put the biggest stamp on it of any owner, but I hope that, you know, the viewers come away and go, that makes sense. You know, the rooms do flow. You know, it's not disjointed. You don't go into this huge family room that's open to the kitchen only then to go back into these kind of rabbity rooms. So we were really thoughtful about that, and I hope it comes through. In this room, some of my furniture, favorite furniture pieces, this little small table, it's chagrin and bronze, and it's the designers are R&Y Augusti out of Paris. And they just do quirky tables, lots of boxes and vessels, but they always use unusual materials in kind of in a way that hasn't been used before. So that was a Valentine's present from Matthew maybe 5 years ago, and I just love it. It's, again, you know, you look for those things that are a little funkier, that can play well with the antique, and I thought that was perfect. It gave it, you know, a little bit more modern, contemporary, but still they talk to each other. And of course, on the table, I told you monkeys were going to become a thing. There's a monkey, so there's two. Started with one, and there's one you'll see in another. Talked about my love of bronzes, and again have, you know, 3 bronzes here. Varying ages. I love the bronzes of animals, so those are the ones I really try to look for, but any bronze I'll buy, to be quite honest. Moving through the room, again, another monkey. Gilt bronze. I think this one was an inkwell at one time. Purchased this at Nick Brock. He just has the most beautiful antiques of all Dallas, so if you need something very special, highly recommend shopping at Nick's. So I got that there. Some cased Italian glass. I love kind of the thickness of that. Then the star of the room, in my opinion, is the Jeff Koons. That is the Balloon Bunny, and that's produced by Bernardo. So while that looks like a balloon bunny or a metal balloon bunny, that's actually porcelain with that finish placed on it. So I just love that, and that's where I met Mr. Koons and ended up with the drawing. So I feel really fortunate to have that. And again, it's one of those pieces that people ask about. They're like, and they always do it like they don't want to insult you, but they're like, is that a balloon? You know, that kind of tone. Is that a balloon? What is that? So I love that opportunity to start a story. And then again, the pair to Josephine, Napoleon, over here, again inherited from my grandmother last year. And then the last piece in the room that I wanted to highlight was this case. I am not a person that likes display cases. I fight against them. I don't like them. This was my grandmother's, and it's a nice specimen. It's a Chinese Chippendale, which are rare. It's small, which is rare. And, you know, no one else in the family wanted it, and I thought, well, I didn't want it just to go to auction, so I thought, well, I'll find a home for it, and lo and behold, it fits perfectly there. And then what it did that I never even thought, it holds all of these little treasures that I like to collect, but you know, on their own, they're just one small thing, but you put them in a cabinet like this and suddenly you have a collection. So, you know, these are all bronze, and they use these as wax seals. So when you used to write letters and seal them, you would hot wax, and then these would put your initials in them. So I love collecting those, some small ivory pieces, and then these, of all things, my aunt at one time collected Judith Lieber handbags. And so I thought they were so unique and so beautiful, I thought, well, I'm going to buy some of the pill boxes. They look like little sculptures. And so on the bottom shelf are all those Judith Lieber pill boxes. I think they look like little pieces of jewelry. So I just love the sparkle that they give in the room. So I ended up loving that cabinet. So try it. Sometimes you'll like it. You know, when we built this family room, it served a couple of purposes, or I wanted it to serve a couple of purposes. Number one, I wanted a giant TV. I figured at 60 years old, I want a big TV. So it seems ridiculous to build a room for a TV, but that's how my mind works sometimes. Matthew cooks every night, and he's an amazing cook. And the old setup, I was on the other side of the house, we couldn't talk. And so now we're able to have a conversation while I'm sitting here watching television while he's cooking dinner for me. And then the third was it gave us easy access to the backyard. And we entertain, well, we're outside all the time. If we're not working, we're working outside in the garden. And so, and we entertain a lot outside. So this room granted us, number one, it created a very nice courtyard. It also connected the guest house, so now my office, I don't have to walk outside in the rain. But it created a kind of lovely, I'm going to say New Orleans-y courtyard. So I'd love to show that to you guys next. You know, to me, the personality of the home comes from the owners. So while I say I fight against grandma taste, you know, I'm drawn to old things, and I'm the one living here, so I don't make apologies, and I don't think anyone should. If you love what's in your home or love your home, then that makes it your home. And so I travel a lot for work, and so after a week out of town, I love coming home and I open the door and it's quiet and it's warm and my family's here, my dog's here, and it's my sanctuary, so it's my safe, quiet place. All right, so now we're out in our courtyard. You know, this was a space we weren't quite sure what was going to come because we had a really great sized backyard post this addition. So imagine this not being here and this all being yards. So we had a nice sized yard, and you know, one of the things we were concerned about is what are you going to have left over? And we just got lucky. So what I decided previously, this was turf and flower beds and lots of curving and more English in style. And so, and I hate that it's February in Texas. There's not a lot of things blooming right now, and it's a little bleak out here, but you get the gist. So when construction started, we kind of didn't know what we would end up back here with. And you know, we lost a lot of plants. Plants had to be moved. It destroys your landscaping construction. And so I took the opportunity to rethink the space. And so when we realized we had more space than we need, or than we thought we might, I thought, well, let's make this more like a New Orleans courtyard. So you'll see we put down all of the, and there, I had some just very smaller area, so found more of this great Chicago antique brick. So again, it instantly ages the space, so it's not brand new looking. I wish y'all were here in like a month because all of this furniture goes away. And all new Palachek hospitality suite furniture is coming out here, so come back. But we do entertain a lot out here, so you know, formal or informal dinner parties out here, primarily a little more casual, blues and whites and white tables and things like that. And then I'm always on the hunt for unusual garden things. So you'll see over here, this is an antique armillary, which is how they would have, you know, measured time and astral positions at time. You know, I warned you at the beginning of this thing, I'm a little bit of a thief when it comes to my mom. Two of these French statues in the corner. She had just found those at a garage sale, and I was out there and I said, those are going in the back of the car. And so those came home with me. So, and this was a birthday present from my mom several years ago, bronze fountain. She wasn't a fountain for probably 6 years, and then once we built this courtyard, had her plumbed and dropped the reservoir in there, and so now she's great. Now I have to admit, on conference calls, I always have to close the door because people are like, you're in the bathroom, and I'm like, I swear that's a fountain, that's not me in the bathroom. So love that. And then I love anything Victorian, and we were recently in Fredericksburg last month, and I found this just fantastic Victorian plant stand. I know some people are like, ugh, gross, chippy iron, but I just love it. And I have, you know, containers throughout the garden. They're cast iron, they're heavy, they have substance, and they hold flowers beautifully. So you'll see them dotted throughout the garden. So come back in summer or fall, and I guarantee you it's color everywhere. Right now, kind of bland. I love the warmth of the house. I love it's a quirky house. In one second, I think, God, I'd love to sell this house and build a brand new home from scratch. I've never owned a new home that I've built. I've always rehabbed homes. And so I've grown to really love the quirks of this house. You know, all of the windows are original except for the additions. They required new windows. But all the original windows are here with the wavy glass. In most places, I went back on the additions and put in French restoration glass to kind of mimic that old glass work. But you know, you'll see uneven plaster in these houses as they've been repaired over the years. A little heavier finish on the wall than we'd probably prefer modern days. It is what it is. There's level changes in this house, so if you're a klutz, me, you have to be conscious of those things. And it's not an open concept house, so that works really well for us. We like delineated spaces, and so, and you'll see, you know, I said earlier we've made 3 additions to this house. The latest one is a great room, family room, whatever you want to call it. And that did kind of open up our living in the house, but it is definitely a segmented house. And I think during COVID and post-COVID, people really started looking for that, as you know, you had multiple people at home and each needing dedicated, quiet workspace. All right, so now we're going up to the primary bedroom. I'm going to pause here on this stairwell just to call out a couple of things. Number one, my cause figures. I love those. Again, those are a little more attempt at contemporary art on these acrylic bases. But, you know, the real story here is this monster painting. And Bob bought this and read the dimensions, but apparently didn't comprehend the dimensions. So I won it. It's a Texas artist, last name Gonzalez, and this was hanging in the Seagram's building in New York, and they did a deacquisition sale at Sotheby's or Christie's, I can't remember. Anyway, I bought it and went to pick this thing up in my SUV, and it wouldn't fit. So then I went and rented a U-Haul, and it still didn't fit, so I had to buy the largest U-Haul. So word of warning, check the sizes. Now, I was lucky that it fit here, but otherwise I would have had a 6 foot by 6 foot painting. Guess I could have made wallpaper with it, so check your dimensions. All right, so now we're in the primary bedroom. This was the second addition I did to the house. So all that we're going to see upstairs, all that exists, is the primary bedroom, dressing area, closet, and bathroom. So this is just our space. And I wanted a space where I could retreat. And, you know, I was just living here by myself. I don't know what I was retreating from, but I thought, you know, there will come a time where I want some separate space. And so I love the idea of being able to get a seating area in here. The other thing, you know, that we talked about in this room was you go into these old houses and you come up into the attic spaces and you get these wonky ceilings, and, you know, you're walking into a slant or there's a gable there's just a lot of unusable space. And so my architect and I really talked and thought through of how we would get this and not have that. So, you know, the downstairs, they're 12-foot ceilings. We just have 8 feet up here. We do have one weird angle, so that's the exterior roof climbing. But to get this mass with no sort of weirdness in it, we cut the roof of the house off and lifted the roof 7 feet. And so that allows us to really make it look like a room and not like a attic conversion. So up here, you know, my goal was quiet, layers upon layers of creams and golds and whites. I wanted it to be very quiet. The bedding has to wear like iron. We have a 4-year-old miniature dachshund named Mabel that you'll see running around, and she sleeps with us, as all your dogs should. And so I love this bedding. This is Ann Gesh, and it's all silk, but it's washable silk. And so whatever happens to this, and believe me, every month, anyone that owns a dog has been awoken at 3 a.m. by the famous, you know what's coming. And so these can be washed and wear like iron. So I just love her linens. It's like top quality, but just impervious to anything. The painting over the bed is the one Roller Wilson that is not downstairs in the family room. That's where the rest of them are. And this one is my favorite. I love the cats. I love the one that's smoking and the bee. And, you know, I'm not going to take the time, but there's their story of what they're going through at the moment, hand painted around the frame. So again, just a crazy artist who I love. Over here, this is, I consider my best painting. This artist is a Russian artist named Igor Melnikov. I have this one and the one to the right. And he primarily paints children from war-torn countries. And so you'll see a lot of melancholy. They're not happy children. So he paints the struggles that they go through. And his work is just beautiful. Again, he's one of those artists that paints with a very small haired brush to get infinite detail. And there's just something about it that grabs me. You know, the weird things that I like to collect that bring a little bit of humor. I love this trend of these contemporary artists doing lines for other companies. And so this is the Haas brothers. They do these enormous weird monster chairs, but they did this for L'Objet. And so, you know, that's an affordable way of getting a piece of art by an artist that may be out of your means otherwise. And then over here, you know, I told you I will mix things up. These are all, you know, with the exception of this cat painting, all of these are by two brothers, Seth and Simon Weiniger. And they paint differently. So I thought that was unique that I found a pair of painting brothers. And then I just mixed it in with, I got this at a garage sale for 25 cents, and it's an interior of a cathedral. I like that in finer paintings downstairs, and so I thought, you know what, let's mix that in. So I thought that was a nice addition to the room. So I just love like this tonality of the room. You know, there's burlap, there's velvet, there's this jute seagrass, there's onyx, there's brass, there's silk, but it all ties together because it's all very tonal. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the dressing room and my closet. So my closet, small but mighty. You know, when I built this addition, I wanted a big closet, and this felt really large when I built that. You know, you're always over budget. So looking back, I should have made this closet even bigger and done things now that I'd like to do, but it works. You're probably telling now I don't wear a lot of color. You'll see I wear navy, black, tan, gray, and pretty much solids. I think there may be 6 plaid shirts up there. Unless I get into dinner jackets. And then, of course, I love a good dinner jacket. So, you know, people say I look like an Oscar statue when I wear that. And then, of course, the real sickness is shoes. So, for a guy, I have a lot of shoes. And I'm not going to apologize. I like them. Home is my sanctuary. It's my playground. It's my experimental place. I have no fear of trying things. You're going to see some rooms that I'm breaking some rules or things that are not considered fashionable right now. I don't care. I like it. And it solved a unique problem that we'll talk about when we get into those rooms. And so home for me is a place for me to be myself, to do what I want, to surround myself with friends and family. We live somewhat formally, but I'd like to say we're formally informal, meaning there's nice things in the house, but nothing's too precious. Put a drink down, pick something up, look at it, ask the question. We like talking about the things that we collect. So to me, it's, you know, my quiet space, and then it's a space that I can bring in friends and family and kind of share the house.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Lizzie. Welcome to my home in Connecticut. I can't wait to show you around.
Hi, I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we're now offering a membership plan that gives our supporters early and exclusive access to new videos.
Hi, Homeworthy.
I'm Roz.
You're here at my home in Los Angeles?
Come on in. I can't wait to show you around.
With this membership, we invite you to open more doors, discovering new homes, rooms, and personalities available only to those with the keys to our guest house. You'll be part of a community of people who are just as passionate as you are about interior design. To access all of this exclusive content, simply click the Join button below to become a member today. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Lizzie Bickford Meadow, and welcome to my home in New Canaan, Connecticut. So we bought our home during the height of COVID, as many did, and as you can imagine, there were only a few homes in the market. However, we had the advantage of understanding New Canaan because we've been in love with it for far longer than we've lived here. My husband Todd and I have been visiting New Canaan for about 7 years. My sister has lived here for many years before that. And over our dating period and throughout our time together before we were married, we spent a lot of time in this community and totally fell in love with it. In fact, we looked at many homes here, I would say easily 50, if you can believe it, over several years for a weekend house. And then we decided to bite the bullet and move here. The house was built in 1952 and has had 2 families live in it previously. One of whom did a pretty big renovation and added on to the house significantly. The house expanded basically double in its footprint. And happily, we inherited a home that we loved. The former owners did a beautiful job in the renovation. But with that said, I'm a constant fixer and I love to add on and put my own touch on everything. In fact, I work in fashion, but home interiors is really I would say my passion, probably because I'm not looking at it all day and it's my happy place and my off time that I get to tweak things around the house. In fact, Todd usually asks me, where did the chair go that was in this room? And I say, well, it moved into the living room, or that's the same chair, but I recovered it in a different fabric. All of the items and furniture and pieces within our home have been previously loved. So I can say pretty confidently nothing in the home is new. I've recovered, reloved, repainted, lacquered everything in the house. I'm also, I would say, a little addicted to auctions. And so that's been a fun endeavor, is collecting pieces through estate sales and online auctions and bringing them into the home and making them a part of our life. We are standing in the entryway of my classic colonial home, which in its classic colonial sense is very small and tight and feels very cozy. Let's take a look at my living room. We really designed the whole house to be an entertaining space. We love our friends, we love having our family over, and so each room has its own space to entertain, pour yourself a cocktail, sit by the fire. I've set up a little bar over on this side, which constantly rotates. This table was actually in my husband's home growing up. It was their dining table with leaves that we've taken out. All antique frames that I've collected throughout my life at different estate sales or have fortunately inherited. I love using all the silver pieces from my grandparents, my parents, things we received from our wedding, kind of mixing, matching old and new. And that's a bit of the theme of our home. These chairs are some of my favorite pieces in the house. They actually, I would say belonged to my mother. She generously gave them to me, and I had them recovered. They were once a ivory sort of linen, and I found this fabulous bunchwig fabric, faux bois fabric, and recovered them. This was actually the first piece that I recovered in our home, which was for a first timer, kind of a bold move, the green faux bois, but that kind of set the theme of the room. In my rather addictive sense of collecting antiques and foraging for various items, this set here I found actually at an auction out in the Hamptons. That was a red paisley and blue, and I happened to have found completely separately this vintage Scalamandre fabric that I love, and only had 6 yards of it. So I begged and pleaded my upholstery person, who was amazing, and he created these kind of two masterpieces for me, tying together with the detail on the bottom, the pieces. This chair is another favorite. I'm a real sucker for anything that's caned. This belonged to my husband's family and sort of had a tired old seat cushion that we recovered in a really beautiful silk velvet. Other items in this room that I love is the color. It is a Farrow and Ball color called Skimmed Milk that I totally fell in love with, but saw it first as a little, sample on the wall and thought, yikes, this is going to look like a dentist's office. But I actually love the soft green. It's actually quite inviting and warm. And despite what you may think about a light green, it's actually quite flattering in the room, because I was told to paint rooms the color that you look good in. So this is my new color, I guess. This painting, talking about sort of the high and lows of the house, is one of my real finds that I'm quite proud of. Found it at a antique store in Greenwich, and going through lots and lots of paintings, happened to find this one in the back. I think I paid like $300 for it, with the frame included, which seemed like a total steal. I thought, you're missing a zero on this? But anyhow, I threw it in the back of my car and it came home with me, and it kind of set set another sort of standard for this room in the direction that it took. I love all things equestrian and the equestrian lifestyle, and you'll see many notes and nods to that throughout our home. But actually, this painting was set first, and then I had all of the molding, picture frame molding added after, and it was all measured on this painting. So this sort of bargain find that I was able to procure in Greenwich really set the tone and the scale of the room with how the molding is set, which is really fun. Other items that I love in this room are just little simple things like these set of trays that I picked up again at a vintage store last summer in Nantucket, a sweet little find that I really love with some of my favorite, again, botanicals. You'll see a lot of botanicals in addition to sort of equestrian notes throughout the house. Again, another painting from my mother, which I love, that I like to layer pieces. I don't think everything has to be hung. You'll see an example of that as well over here with, guess what? More horses. A needlepoint bench that I found at an auction that I love, an equestrian hunt scene, and a painting actually my mother found in Italy. She was a fashion model and traveled all over the world and brought many things home, some of which I'm happy to have in our home. And this was something that I had reframed. And I kind of love the juxtaposition of the simple farmhouse scenery with the ornate antique frame. These chairs I grew up with in our apartment in New York City. They have been a multitude of different things. Last time I think they were almost like a Missoni-esque type fabric, and they sat in a garage for a long time. I absolutely love the detailing on them. And in fact, I have dining chair tables that will eventually make their way here as well. But I recently had them recovered in this really beautiful Williamsburg toile with kind of a Asian twist to it. Chinoiserie that I love. And I think it just brings some new life and another point of interest. I don't think that things have to match in a space. As you'll see, we have faux bois, we have florals, we have equestrian, we have stripes, we have formal furniture, we have things that are a bit more casual. These might be one of my favorite possessions of all time. They were in my father's home in Southampton. I am a huge Mark Sykes fan, and he inspires me in all of my interior decisions. And you'll often see pieces like this used in his work. Being the person that's forever changing rooms, my poor husband, all I do is move things around. I just found this fabric that I absolutely love at a remnant store, and I have decided that these chairs are going to be recovered in this fabric, which I'm really excited about. So in my hunt, forever hunt at estate sales and tag sales, there was a tag sale here in New Canaan of someone moving out of their big home and moving on with their life. And I thought, you know, being a mom on a Sunday afternoon, I would never make it. And I made it in like the last 10 minutes of the sale. And to my absolute delight, in a corner, completely ignored, hidden behind something like an old mattress, I promise, something really bizarre, I found these two beautiful pieces. And again, my love of mixing high and low. I think I paid around $100 each for them. They were painted. They had to come home with me. And so I didn't know where I was going to put them, but I had to have them. And when I got back, I placed them next to the fireplace and thought that they really complemented and created some points of interest. And this kind of set the gold tone for the room. Originally, these were painted a sort of dark brown, and I had everything gilded after, which I thought was kind of fun. But this room definitely has a bit of sparkle between the gold and the antique silvers that adorn it. So in a room like this, which when it was blank seemed a little overwhelming and large, I think a tendency would be to just, you know, put the traditional setup of a sofa and chair. I always approach the room in the way that I approach the whole house, which is about entertaining. How are people going to converse? I want people to be comfortable. I want them to walk in and feel great on the sofa. And I want them to be able to talk here and across the room and have a conversation here or to the person next to you. I want these people to have a conversation or pull up a chair. Sometimes I think there are too many chairs in this room, but for a recent holiday, we had 16 people in this room and everyone had a seat and everyone was drinking champagne and was happy and comfortable and lingered with the fire going. So the whole point of this house and the way that I approached the design and decoration was to have people linger and stay. I love being around people. Again, we love our friends and family, and we want this to be a home to live in. So I always think about how are people going to speak to each other. I want everyone to feel like they're shouting, and I don't want anyone to feel like someone's sitting on top of them. So I create little vignettes throughout the home that people can be comfortable and find a place to perch. So as I mentioned, I'm constantly moving things around in the house. These bookshelves haven't been perfected, and I'm not sure they ever will be. but I do love playing around with them and moving things. This silver bowl was a gift to my parents-in-law on their wedding day from a friend that I cherish and love. These two pieces I picked up at Palm Beach Regency. We spent a lot of our winter down in Palm Beach, and I love shopping there, and I saw them and had to have them. These bowls I've picked up from their sort of various awards that I did not win, but I do love finding vintage trophies, and you'll see them throughout our home. I just think they're kind of fun, and I love to think about who won them at one point. And these urns actually belonged to my husband's great grandmother and survived not one but two house fires. So I feel like they're a bit of good luck. And I just love playing with the bookshelves. These are my mother's. Again, everything in our house is very personal and cared for and loved, and we love having them be a part of our life. Prior to living in New Canaan, Connecticut, we lived in Rye, and before that, we lived in New York City. And as city dwellers without kids, we lived in a very modern apartment. Everything was black and gray and white and cream and was perfect. In fact, we didn't even have a houseplant and certainly didn't have a dog or a cat to take care of. I think our refrigerator had a bottle of champagne and some green juices from Juice Press. That was our New York life. Living in the country, we have really embraced the lifestyle here, which is a house that's made for family. We have two small children, Lillian, who is just 3 years old, and Pierce, my son, who's 4 years old. We have a very different life here in the country, and I love it. And in fact, I went from a very streamlined look in our Tribeca apartment to sort of a chintz explosion, really embracing, the founders of the chintz movement, who I love very dearly and look up to. And there are a few designers that I really study, I would say. Certainly not a formal student, but an amateur student in the world of interior design. And you'll be able to see sort of their influence in the house. And I really pick apart design books and magazines and study each room and the composition of them. I also would say that my mother has a great eye, being a fashion model for many years and living truly on sets, sort of creating special moments and vignettes. And she has a great sense of style that I inherited. And my father is an architect. So the world of design is kind of in my blood and something I grew up around. And really just creating spaces that are beautiful and that are cozy and inviting and that you want to live in. And I think our home in Connecticut is really a reflection of that. You sort of just want to curl up by the fire or sit and read a book, neither of which I do very often because I'm usually busy running my business or taking care of the kids or traveling. But it's certainly, when I come home from a trip, it's a place that I love to call home. Yes, so we chose our home and purchased a home faster than I purchased a pair of shoes. I swear, it was the quickest process and the biggest investment of our lives, and we did it within a few minutes of walking into the home. In fact, because we moved in during COVID, or we purchased the home during COVID, there was a bit of pressure. There were only so many homes in the community that were left. And because we had worked with the same real estate broker for years, she knew exactly what we were looking for. And we were deciding between two homes. And we saw the first home and we liked it. And in fact, Todd, my husband, had stayed behind to sort of suss a few things out. And I said, I'm going to move on to the next house because we were under a bit of pressure. And I walked into the house and I called him immediately and I said, forget it, come over here, this is it. And the thing that caught me immediately is the abundance of natural light in the house. In fact, I love art and I'm at a lack of wall space because there's just windows everywhere. The house is light filled even on a rainy day. We saw it in the middle of February on a cold, snowy day, and it just had so much warmth and joy and just really felt like home the minute that we walked in. And I knew that this is the place that we wanted to live. Maybe not forever, hopefully, but for a very, very long time. I love that this house has lots of little nooks and crannies. One of my favorite possessions in the house, although I know that there are many that I've mentioned, was actually featured when we did my house in Rye. And it's this painting, which I bought at one of my favorite restaurants in Southampton that no longer exists, Silver's. It once hung over our fireplace in our home in Rye, and now I get to see it every day from multiple vantages of the room, or for the house rather. I love that the house is filled with all of these little moments. And so I wanted to create a moment out of it. And I don't think you should be afraid of making a special moment in little corners of your home. Celebrate it and play with it and work on it until it's right. I found this again at an auction. This I bought down in Palm Beach, which I love. I anchored this table with a rug. I love citrus trees. Of course, they remind me of warm sunny days in Palm Beach, but also I think it just adds a bit of liveliness and lightness and beauty, natural beauty. And so we created a little moment here with some of our favorite photos from our life. I did the same in this cozy little area here where it's just could be a very simple little pass through. And while it may seem a little tight, it actually is kind of a nice entranceway that brings you back through our front door to our formal living. But let's make our way into the dining room. One thing that I love about this house is all of the formal spaces. We love to entertain, and we have 2 dining rooms. One is more family, and this one we love to have for intimate dinners with friends. This table I bought, guess where, at an auction. And sometimes I play with this room. I'll make it a round table with books and a big ginger jar and flowers and sort of objects of curiosity that almost feels like a pass-through hall. I sometimes do a dessert buffet in here when we're having parties. And this room is really quite functional. All of the things on the table, we'll be hosting some friends this evening for dinner, are special to us. These glasses I actually bought here in New Canaan at Nantucket Monogram. A friend of mine owns the store, and I fell in love with the glasses this summer, and I ended up buying the entire set. I think I have 40 of them or something for large parties. These napkins are from our wedding that I had embroidered with our duogram. These are our wedding china, Hermes. This is a mix of different silver that we have from my mother, my father, my mother-in-law. And I love mixing silver up. I don't think you have to have a totally matching set if like patterns in your home speak to each other. The silver and the tableware can as well. This is a vintage set that was given to us as a wedding gift. And then my favorite sort of course, equestrian-inspired Hermes serving pieces. I love florals. I love floral decor, as I'd mentioned. It's one of my passions, and doing arrangements like this, just natural botanicals, are some of my favorites. I don't think you always have to use a vase. This is a sort of a beautiful silver vintage bowl that I create arrangements in, and you'll see those throughout my house as well. I think florals are a really nice way to bring a bit of joy into every room. So the beauty of this table is that it can be an intimate round, very intimate for 4. This could probably fit 6. And we have another leaf that allows us to sit 10. Our other dining room comfortably sits 8 people. And on occasions like Thanksgiving or Christmas, where we have a lot of people here, I actually transform our library, which sits next to our family dining room, into another dining room, which is another fun sort of fireside dining experience. I'm someone who really believes in using the good stuff every day. I don't save our china for a formal dinner. I don't save our silver for Christmas. I like integrating all of our good pieces every day. Again, I think it's that investing in your lifestyle pieces, whether it's your wardrobe or your home. Don't put your pretty things away in closets and cabinets and just wait for once or twice a year to use it. I'm someone who errs on the side of formality. I love setting an elegant table. We eat pretty much like this with our kids, teaching them, how to dine and practice being out. I really love to set a beautiful tablescape and to entertain our friends at our home. My husband and I love to cook, and we love to have people over. I love music. I love creating playlists. And so I love, as an extension of what I do in my everyday and creating brand experiences, I love to create my own brand experience and invite my family and friends to join me in that. So in our love of entertaining, one thing that I really do love about this house is the previous owners provided a lot of storage space for what they didn't know, but would be my somewhat abundant collection of plates and that I collect. whether it's our wedding china or pieces that we inherited or pieces that I purchased on trips or again at auctions. There's lots of storage space, which is great. This dining room leads into a very open concept kitchen. I love the fact that there's a beautiful display case here for our china, but also I have pull open drawers that store quite a bit. I have summer china to dine by our pool. There's all sorts of occasions, special for Christmas, Thanksgiving, the holidays. I really love to create a theme and build a tablescape around that. Obviously, my wedding china is one of my favorites, which is the blue and white from Hermes. But one of my favorite plates are these actually very simple plates that I bought last summer, 2 summers ago in Saint-Tropez. They're just vintage. I found them in the marketplace. I loved them. Sadly, there were only 4, but I get to use them when I have a smaller dinner. And then I'm a sucker for anything cabbage, which you'll see in my kitchen. And these are some of my favorites as well. I love using these for special breakfasts, desserts, luncheons, etc. And it goes on and on and on. This was my parents' wedding china that I have a few pieces of that I love. Sweet little tea sets, special silver pieces from my grandparents that I've inherited. My husband's parents' wedding china as well. So there's lots of significance throughout the home and what we use on special occasions and every day. So I would say my favorite type of architecture for a home is Georgian, and that is majority of the houses that we looked at. However, we ended up buying a very traditional colonial home, and I would say the inside definitely has a wow factor. There's things that being a constant person of perfection and wanting to constantly sort of reshape and reimagine things. There are things that I still want to do to the house, but it's a classic colonial home that I sort of always joke that it's the perfect home to pick up your prom date or to have Thanksgiving dinner. It feels very, very cozy, and the house is very long. And so when you arrive at it, you sort of, it doesn't have an overpowering sense, but when you are inside of it, you meander from room to room. And that was something that I was really attracted to as well when we were looking at homes, as many of the homes that we had seen sort of had a more modern style in terms of great open spaces. And I like cozy spaces, and I love that this room has not one, but actually 2 dining rooms, a cozy library, a family room, a great big kitchen for everyone to gather in, a long hall, lots of spaces to sort of discover. And in fact, even we've had friends over who have said, wait, there's another room here, because it kind of just keeps going. And all throughout, again, that abundance of light just makes it feel very welcoming and bright and sunny and happy. I would say the style of the interiors probably lean towards the grand millennial, though that feels like a trend word, which I think the house really is classic and traditional in a sense. It's light and bright. I've used a lot of celeries that have been juxtaposed with browns. I have faux bois and toiles. I have lacquered pieces and brass and glass pieces, and my eyes are darting around because I'm looking at just this one room alone. And I would say that it also lends to being eclectic because, as I mentioned, there's not one piece here that was bought from a catalog or a store. So every single piece has been handpicked, which has been a really fun and exciting journey to be on. And many people walk into our home and say, how long have you lived here for? And we say 2.5 years, and they're shocked because it really feels like almost a home that we inherited, because there is that constant sense of layering. And I don't like anything too perfect. I think also in my sense of style and in my fashion sense, I like something to be a little bit off, right? So mixing of patterns and colors and textures and a moment of something that's unexpected. And I often think, as I noted, my parents were a big inspiration or have been a big inspiration, as well as, Bunny Williams and, Stephen Sills and Mark Sykes, Barada, right? All of the people who have inspired me. There's someone that I can really point my finger to that taught me how to put something together. And that is my former boss and my constant mentor, Sam and Libby Edelman. They taught me about how to not be afraid to layer textures and patterns, and that little bit of excitement and whimsy that can be injected by something being a little bit off and a little bit weird and a little bit fun and a little bit strange. And they really directed me and taught me how to make that happen through observation and through spending a ton of time with them. And while I ran their marketing PR for years, they continue to be dear friends and mentors, obviously in my personal life as well as my professional life. So whether it's hosting a luncheon for friends or a Sunday brunch, we love to use the kitchen as sort of the central hub of the house. We often have family dinners at this countertop or this island, and a lot of fun conversations, a lot of laughs have happened around this special part, which everyone says the kitchen is the heart of your home. So while I have my favorite plates, a few favorite plates, I should say, and I'd mentioned my love for anything that's cabbage or botanical throughout my home, I also love to mix and match. None of these are a matching set, but I think it's kind of fun to put the different pieces together and to create a thematic look, but with a little bit of irreverence to it. Nothing has to match in life, right? It creates a little bit of interest. Speaking about creating interest, I know that there's often a divide in terms of keeping your refrigerator clean or cluttered. And I don't mean the inside, I mean the exterior. Before children, I would have sworn that I would have a very clean front refrigerator. However, it has become basically a gallery for my kids' artwork, which I absolutely love, and it brings me so much joy. It's constantly changing out with pieces. Some have been here for years, and some pieces are new additions. This is truly the most valuable and precious art in my house, and I absolutely love it. So now that we've seen the formal living room, the formal dining room, the entryway, and the kitchen, we're going into the part of the home that we truly live in, which I would say is our family quarters. This dining room, I absolutely love. I love that it's light-filled. We live on a 40-acre nature preserve, so you'll often see coyote or deer, lots of wildlife running behind you. This chandelier was a gift from my father. It hung, as many pieces did, in our house in Southampton, and I grew up dining under it for my entire life. So I love that it's here, and I think it creates a really fun, cozy atmosphere and suits the room just so well. This dining table is where we have many holiday dinners, every night dinners. My son builds Legos. It's not uncommon for this table to be covered in many Legos, although pro tip, we do the Lego building on either cookie sheets or trays so that it can be easily picked up and moved to another room if we're having guests over, or it can just be kind of modified to a smaller project. But this table, like the kitchen, is sort of an extension of our everyday heart of the home, and where we love to spend a lot of time. So as we do love to entertain, which is the theme of this house, apparently, we have a little wet bar here that we actually love and use quite often. We have a wine refrigerator, which basically stores a bunch of champagne, a collection of all of our glasses. These belong to my husband's great grandmother, which I love, these coupes, and we use them for everything from martinis to Manhattans to champagne. Again, always use the good stuff. Our wedding champagne glasses that are by Baccarat that I love. These glasses were my father's, from my father's side, wedding presents to my grandparents, and then to my parents that have our family crest on it and Bickford inscribed on it that I absolutely love. Some other items on here that are special. These silver trays belong to my mother, as did these decanters, as did this actually. This I recently picked up. I love this pretty hand towel again with the equestrian theme. Here are more of my botanical etched glasses that I had mentioned and shown in the dining room. These are from my father's side as well, just beautiful little glasses with B for Bickford on them, and so on and so forth. Everything is just kind of I love these actually. These belong to my mom's mom, who was an avid tennis player. She lived in Greenwich and played tennis for her whole life. And we have, it was one for her and one for her husband. And we have those that are a special part of our collection as well. So it always reminds me of my grandmother, Betty. So I think my sense of interior style is very much like my sense of fashion and what I wear. I'm drawn to classic designs, timeless designs. I think as I'm approaching my 40s, I'm starting to invest in pieces both in my home and my wardrobe that will last a lifetime, and leaning less, pulling away sort of from fast fashion or fast interiors, and being very thoughtful about the pieces that are around me and that the pieces that I truly invest in. And that could be investing in time as well, right? I mean, I've purchased things on auction that look like $1 million and I paid nothing for it, right? So I think it's also just having an eye for how things go together. I think that, and the same in my wardrobe. I love vintage shopping. It's one of my favorite things. And I'll walk into a, vintage store and I'll walk out with a lamp and a belt or, a sweater or something or a blazer and sort of blend it into my life. But I think that my personal style overall could be defined as classic, timeless, but always having a bit of fun with it, right? Turning things a little bit off their head, like a little bit off center, having things being a little bit quirky and cool. I think that really gives you instead of being cookie cutter, a real sense of style and a personalized look. Todd has a big opinion about design. I'm so grateful for him for so many reasons. He's an amazing person and partner, and is very supportive of me in all senses of my life, in all senses of that word. But especially when I'm running around the house at 11 o'clock at night, rearranging things or recovering something with a staple gun. He lets me do my thing, which I love, but he does have an input and I value his input. He's very technical in the way that he thinks, but he's also incredibly creative. His mother studied fine painting, as did his grandmother, and actually one of her paintings is in our living room. And so he definitely has an artistic and creative eye and a great sense of style, which I really value. And I value his input, and we have fun together. We make all of life's decisions together, whether it comes to, the home that we buy, the way that we raise our children. We work in very different industries, but we consult each other on many things in our professional lives. And so the house has been a fun extension of that part of our relationship. This is our family room. We love this room. Again, this is the room that I walked in when I first saw the home and fell absolutely in love with it. I love all of the windows. I love the open format of it. We spend most of our time in this room. Again, the room is dotted with pieces that I grew up with. Rattan and bamboo are some of my favorite textures and types of furniture. These were in our apartment in New York City growing up, and they have a new life here in Connecticut. This was the dining table that I grew up with, this pine table that just kind of felt right in this space. Again, maybe one day we pull it out and we use it, but for right now, it holds this great little pagoda that I bought in Palm Beach and some vintage lamps. And these are doll houses that my dad actually had built for my sister and I, and we repainted them and gifted them to our children, Todd and I, to our children, last Christmas from Santa, which was really exciting to be able to pass that along, and special for my dad to come see when he visits our home. The bookshelves are again filled with family photos. We love to travel, so there's some from all over the place, wonderful books. a fun tradition that my husband and I have is each Christmas he gifts me a book from Abilene, a different travel location that we've been to or I've been to and that we love, which is really fun. So we have some of my favorite Abilene books featured here in these bookshelves. Art is a big part of our life. Again, I sort of noted a few pieces throughout the home that we collect. And art, as we've all heard, should be something that speaks to you. And so a lot of the art is very personal. This is a piece that we picked up in the Hamptons a few years ago that we love that hung in our apartment in Tribeca. These two photographs are done by a friend of mine, Natalie Obradovich, who I met in Paris 20 years ago. And we've remained friends. She lives in New York City now, and I'm a big supporter of her work. And we've actually collaborated on many occasions. And so it's fun to have two pieces of hers in our home. And I have two more pieces upstairs. This chair here is a cool piece to point out. And again, side note, baskets. Life is not perfect everywhere. The inside of these baskets are filled with all my kids' toys. This chair belonged to my great-grandfather on my mother's side. And actually, he was a very accomplished sailor and made very long journeys around the world. And this was on one of his boats. And so this is a really special captain's chair that we have in our home as well. That's kind of fun to be able to sit in. Our home is really about welcoming friends and family at any time, and part of that is creating spaces that are functional. We've explored the formal living room, the formal dining room, the various places throughout the home. This is really our family room where we live, and we created a space that can welcome our kids. We can play on the floor. We use a technical fabric on the sofa. We use an indoor-outdoor rug in this space so that any spills can be quickly and easily cleaned away. Why add more stress to your life by having really precious fabrics in spaces that you know that you're going to have toddlers in? Don't set yourself up for that. So now that you've seen the majority of the first floor, we've ended up in the entrance that we use quite often, which is our family entrance by the kitchen. This entrance is great because you can easily access the family room. There's stairs to the children's part of the house, and the kitchen is right here. So in terms of foot traffic, this space gets the most. Some things that I love that are notable about this space. This piece was actually in my husband's parents' dining room growing up. And when we were moving in, it kind of sat here and I thought, wow, this is perfect. The mirror was my mother's, which I also love. And it just makes for a great sort of family welcome to the home. This clock is one that I referenced earlier. This belonged to my great-grandfather and then my grandfather and sat in his office in New York City. My dad gave it to Todd and I and had it restored to hang on our wall, which is really fun. And I grew up with it in my home in Southampton, and it's really fun to have my my children sort of interact with it and wonder as they're learning to read what all the words are on it, which is really fun. And here we are back in the kitchen. So my professional journey started in the music industry, actually. I started at Epic Records in A&R as an intern, and then I moved to Columbia Records when I graduated college and worked in top 40 promotion and traveled around in the world of rock and roll. And that was awesome. I have many stories with some of the greats in the industry, including one of my favorites is having a dim sum dinner late night with Steven Tyler, and he gave me the hat that he was wearing with feathers, which I have upstairs in my closet that my son was wearing running around the house the other day. So that was an amazing part of my career. I think what I learned in that part of the industry is the essence of marketing. So whether it's a product or an artist, how to tell a brand story in a really engaging way. I also started my career sort of on the cusp of the digital revolution in the sense where we were going from CDs to digital downloads, and there was a big change in that. And so there was a lot to learn all at once about marketing and the great shift, which is now something that we've all adapted to. I think my passion point that I was able to identify and connect with in my early 20s was brand experience and pairing the ability to be organized and brand a product, right, or an artist, and to be able to somehow just, I didn't train formally for it. I just knew how to do bring a brand to life and do events, which would now be called, of course, experiential marketing. Putting all of those pieces together allowed me to have a sort of constant throughout my career, which eventually brought me into the world of fashion. I think essentially I'm a people person. I can talk to anyone about anything. I can kind of drag things out of people, and I'm interested authentically in people and their stories. And so pairing the marketing side and the interest in storytelling kind of just all evolved very naturally. I was not a English major in school and somehow became an editor. I've had I've run fashion magazines. I've run society and fashion sections of newspapers. My work has been published nationally. All of it has been a bit of determination and fearlessness in a sense, and the ability to default to saying yes. So I think that people have, I've done lots of interviews, which I'm so fortunate to have done throughout my career. And the one question that I get asked is, what's the secret sauce? How do you do it? And I would love to say that I get 8 hours of sleep and I drink tons of water and I exercise. I don't do any of those. I am a passionate person about bringing brands to life and about what I do and making things more beautiful and dynamic and telling brand stories through experience. I live and breathe what I do outside of my family life. I am constantly working, but I feel fortunate that I've been able to create a career doing what I love. But it is certainly, there's been no shortcut and there's been no easy way. It's been a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, a lot of long, endless hours, trips around, 16-hour airplane rides around the world, what have you. If I see an opportunity, I go after it. Well, I love spending time in so many rooms in my house and the house in general. There's one room that I spend a particular amount of time in, and that's my office. Let me show you. And this room, as they say, is where the magic happens. This is my creative space, my office, my place to retreat and hang. I love this room. It brings me so much joy. And in fact, it's really fun because in this world of meetings via Zoom, a lot of people get to see sort of my style and taste and often say, where are you sitting? I love the wallpaper. I designed this room with actually the help of a really great local interior designer who owns a great store in town called Found. And she and I worked together on pulling this room together. I went for a maximalist look in this space, and everything is custom. This chair was actually again in our home in Southampton, and the other pair, which I kind of love, is in my dad's house down in Palm Beach. I love the fact that we covered the lampshades in the fabric that is with the chair. This chair is what I use to sit in, but I love because this was actually a chair from CB2 that was a pink velvet that Todd bought for me when we lived in Tribeca. And I loved the shape of it, but the style of it, the fabric no longer sort of fit our home. And so I had it recovered, and I actually had it put on a base to make it a bit higher because it was very, very low. And I added this little like boudoir skirt. And I just love it and think it's a really sweet piece. This desk I bought at auction, can you believe it? At an estate sale that I love, and it's kind of my workhorse, and I beat it up a little bit with throwing, pens and papers and writing on it and whatnot. But it is a little special piece. And this little cute pagoda was at my grandmother's house in a powder room at her house in Palm Beach, which I love. And it just sort of is a style that I really enjoy seeing as I'm sitting here doing all of my work every single day. So again, I love a bit of whimsy and irreverence when planning a room. And I think that needlepoint is a funny way of saying something without actually saying it. And this is, again, my office. And so here it is, you again, although this does double as a guest bedroom. So I do put it out sometimes as well. This bed, actually, this day bed, is one of those high-low pieces. I actually ordered this off of Amazon and had it covered in actually a wallpaper at the recommendation of my dear friend Danielle Rollins. And she suggested that I use this particular wallpaper because it was backed and it wouldn't tear like a fabric might on a day bed that would get a lot of use. So thank you, Danielle, and your expert advice on that. I spend a lot of time in this space. I absolutely love it. My husband gave me this ashtray one Christmas as a sort of continuation of our wedding china, which I love. And this is sort of just where all of my creative energy is spent, and my little cozy oasis in my home. My favorite thing about our home is the collection of family heirlooms that we have created sort of a stage for. It means a lot to me when our parents are here and they say, you know, they feel like home, or they're so happy to see their items that they loved and cherished and inherited from their grandparents or even great-grandparents scattered throughout the house. So there's lots of layers and elements to the house that really speak to our family values of continued tradition, and speak to the way in which we want to raise our kids, which is in a home filled with love and filled with memories that we can make among all of these beautiful heirlooms, and that we teach them to cherish and take care of as well, because they'll be theirs one day. So I think that's a really special part of our house that I truly love. And when I walk through the front door after a long day or a trip far away, that it really feels cozy and personal and appointed with all of the things that we cherish. Home, to me, as cliche as it sounds, is really where the heart is. I have lived in many, many different places. I've lived in different countries. I've lived in different cities, different states. Home means to me where there is warmth and love, and where your loved ones are. I had divorced parents growing up, and I had two homes. And that is kind of a hard thing to wrap your head around as a kid, but it was when I walked through the door, home was where my parents were. We try to create that for our kids, that they walk through the front door and they're excited to be here, and that it's filled with love and warmth and kindness and all of the things that make you feel cozy. To me, that is where home is. Someone has asked me recently sort of what's the favorite place that you've lived? And there's many, but in a very different scale. One of my favorite homes was, I had a tiny studio apartment on the Upper East Side on 92nd and Park. And it was this tiny, cozy little walk up, and it had a fireplace. And that was my little oasis in the city for many, many years. And despite it being a shoebox and rather dark, it was the coziest little place to be in the big city. And now in the wide open country, I love being in our house because every room feels cozy and inviting and lovely. And that to me is what home is.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.